Hello, welcome to the stream! So today will be a Gundam Tierlist stream, which I am extremely excited for. But before we do that, I do want to say just one or two things about this. So first of all, this is just my personal opinion about what I think about the designs. I'm not trying to make an objective tier list about how good each design objectively is. Otherwise, the Gundam and Zaku would definitely be in S tier, and then I think a lot of things based on it I'm probably going to put higher in the actual tier list would definitely go lower than it. Also, it's not about their performance or power. So, if I put some variant of the Zaku above the Gundam, don't try and crucify me. It is solely based on what I like. And nothing else. So please don't, like I said, don't try and crucify me for my tastes. Oh, actually, you know what? Never mind. Or do. If you're gonna comment that, do it. That tells YouTube that you like what you're seeing, so it does better for me. No balls. I know it's not a mobile, but come on, man, it's a freaking ball. I'll probably... The thing is, I actually have plans to at some point do a non-mobile suit list of things. Probably, I think there's few enough that I could just make it one tier list, so various mobile armors, mobile pods, fighters, things like the Sky Grasper, the Tin Cod, the Ball. So that would be a different... You got Twitch. Yes, I'm on Twitch and YouTube. I sometimes link different ones in different places, but I multi-stream to Twitch and YouTube simultaneously. I don't see any reason not to, since I'm streaming anyway. Let me get some music ready for me. What do I want to listen to right now? You guys won't be listening to it because, copyright stuff. Unless you want to listen to it on your own separately. You're allowed. I think I'll probably listen to the original Gundam soundtrack. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. There we go. Give me a link. Let me grab it real quick. I will put it in the YouTube chat for anybody that wants to go from YouTube to Twitch. That's the wrong one. There we go. Okay, so with having gotten that few preliminary stuff out of the way, what better place? Oh, also, Chris, welcome to the stream. I forgot to say that earlier. What better place could there possibly be to start than the one that started it all? The original RX-78-2. So there's a reason this design is so iconic. The face is it's interesting to take this because it's the first in the context of outside of the context of specifically Gundam. And just in the context of things in the things that already existed at the time in the general mecha anime landscape. So for things that existed at the time, it does look remarkably grounded. With things that we have now like Patlabor and Macross, it's easy to see Gundam, and especially the original, like with things like 8th MS Team, for instance, it's easy to see this as toyish. But it really does look more grounded than a lot of what was happening at the time. Things like Manzinger Z, for instance, or even other Tomino works like Ideon, which was later, but still around the same time. Gundam it does look remarkably grounded, while still having a heroic look. And that's something that I think actually Kuino Kawada is actually really good at. Is that you should use Big Gundam Head as your reference pick, or Big Head Gundam. I think I'll pass on that. Every time I think of Manzinger, I think of the rocket arms and get a laugh. I mean, there are rocket arms in Gundam, sort of. There's the Zeong's arms, but we're getting ahead of ourselves talking about Zeong. So, it's interesting how much the head takes from a samurai, with the vents and head camera sort of looking like that samurai hairstyle, and then this looking like the helmet decoration. But the straighter lines on it is Jagu in the list. I think it is not, unfortunately. But I might at some point do a list of stragglers that I forgot. So, if you want to at some point see that, then join my Discord server, and then maybe at some point if I do another list that it could appear in, you can suggest that I include it. But I think it's not in this list, unfortunately. I did try to be as good as I could about making sure that I included as many as I could, and there are 87 mobile suits in this tier list already. Now I have a mental picture of the samurai's helmet emblem thing falling off like a Vivian mid-duel. I mean, who's to say it didn't happen? It's potato-shaped with big potato launcher as its hand, indeed. The vents are, I think, one of the best things about the design. There's a reason that went to go on and become a staple of what was a Gundam. It's interesting that most Gundams have green eyes, considering the original definitely had... they're usually shown as yellow, but sometimes, like in this line art, they're even shown as orange, and that's a big difference from green. So, when thinking about this, I think about what Sid Mead said about it when he was examining the design in preparation to make designs for Turn A Gundam. He said that it's with things like exposed joints and the blocky arms, it has a very mechanical feel, but it also has a very heroic feel, and I think that's really what the Gundam is as in terms of design. And there's a reason that this is like such an iconic design, and that there's been so many other iterations. I did an entire tier list once on stream, and it was a stream I was doing like just rambling about mecha, but I did a whole tier list then about various like redesigns of the original Gundam, and that was only counting like out of universe redesigns, not in universe redesigns. And it was enough for a small tier list. The first thing the eyes screen, the later episode is shown on screen. Is it shown later yellow eyes? Is it green at the start? I don't think it was. Well, I haven't watched the original Gundam in a while, so maybe it was. The box looks just really give an impressive silhouette no matter what pose it's in. Yes. And also, it looks... Kuino Kawada has some problems with his line art. His designs are wonderful, but the line art is sometimes not wonderful, and that's really well shown in almost anything from Seed, but not in this case, not at all. This line art style works perfectly for what this design is, and I'm going to put it in A tier. And I might move that up to S tier later. It's a really good design. So, next, the Zaku 2. As I understand it, Kuino Kawada had a lot of restrictions in his designs for the original Gundam, and even like the gun tank and the gun cannon and Jim, because Sunrise was they wanted there to be toy potential for it. Even the colors, in the Gundam, the specific white, red, and blue is like, I believe those were chosen specifically because they're used in prototype colors for some US fighter jets. But he had to pick something colorful. But with the Zaku, he had more freedom, and we can really actually say that with the design. So the only thing that they told him that it had to have was a mono eye like a Cyclops, which is one of the best design aspects of the Zaku. The Mono Eye, there's again, there's a reason the Zaku is its design lineage is seen even in like completely unrelated things. Even like in Pacific Rim, the Russian Jaeger is inspired by, it's basically a reference to the Zaku too, because the design is really, really good. There's some slightly more cartoony aspects, like the shoulder. To be fair, we see more strike-inspired designs than RX nowadays. Well, yeah, but if you think about it, the V-fin, the overall blocky silhouette, the squarish shoulders, the chest vents, like all of those that are on the Strike Gundam, those came from the RX-78 too. So it's still based on it's still RX-78 2 inspired, really. It's just taking one more step to get there. It's not directly, but still. Even if it's directly inspired by the Strike, then it's indirectly inspired by the RX-78 too. It was very much a trendsetter for Gundam. Anyway, so there's a lot of things that I really like about this design, like the cables on the legs. That's one of my favorite aspects. Actually, the cables in general. And a lot of people complain, oh, that's not realistic. That's not gritty enough for me. But why not? They are protected, and that's how the like design works. That's how it was able to be so much better than the Zaku 1 in universe. Did I remember to put the Zaku 1 in here? I might not have. I hope I did. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, the Zaku is also, it's again a great design, and there's a reason that it's so iconic. So it's gonna go just below the Gundam. I do like the Gundam a little bit more. Posture check. Okay, yes, I was in fact slouching. I'm a shrimp. And looking over the stream, Ellie, it's been a while since you were able to be here. Oh, and by the way, this order is mostly sort of randomized-ish, except slightly alphabetical, because you can't import 87 images into TierMaker all at once, so I had to do them in batches. But I think it's somewhat randomized, but also I moved some things around, like I intentionally made it so we would start with the RX-78 too. And I will move things around as we go on. So, let's go to the Gelgoog, a unit that is canonically as good as the Gundam. Actually, I think on paper it's actually slightly better than the Gundam, because it has about the same top speed, slightly higher acceleration, and the beam rifle can fire more shots faster. So this takes you can tell that it's the same faction as the Zaku. The late 90s, early 2000s really hit it out of the park with the sleekness of Evangelion, but the boxy, almost brutalistic Gundam and the cartoonish fun of Manzinger. I think I would agree, yeah. It's nice that we have so many, like, different, like, entirely different aesthetics from the era. But we're not going to get up to late 90s, I don't think. Other than Thunderbolt. It's worth noting that Goku is only a backpack away from a high mobility type. That's true, although some did also have upgraded, like, leg parts. Also, welcome to the stream, Amelia. So, I really like these arm pieces. The shoulders are quite nice. They feel more realistic than the Zaku, but they still have that bit of, like, almost silliness that manages to still feel grounded and be really cool with this little spike there. Sort of like the Zaku spiked shoulder, where that almost feels like for a second you're like, does that feel a bit silly? And then you're like, no, that feels fine. That feels reasonably grounded enough for Gundam. It's interesting the way that it has all of these, like, vents here. And it's also, another thing that's interesting is that this would be easier to draw than a Zaku. But it doesn't immediately pop out to you as, oh, this was so the animators don't have to keep drawing Zakus. It feels very natural and normal, but it is also easier for the animators to draw. So you get a 2-in-1 there. And I also really like this antenna package in the back for the A-type. It makes it feel cooler for just the normal A-type without just resorting to giving all of them a commander antenna. At that point, what's the point of it being commander antenna? This reminds me of old school JRPG knight enemies, and I really like that about it. That's actually true, and in general, it has a somewhat knight-like aesthetic. That cockpit door is like a bullseye target for VTMS. Well, the cockpit area is gonna be anyway. I would argue that the cockpit door is smaller than the gym, and at least it's the same color as the body, so it's probably better off than the gym in that regard. But we're not quite to the gym yet, so. Anyway, this I think I actually like more than the Zaku, but less than the Gundam. Now, finally, for a not original show mobile suit, this was originally an MSV mobile suit, but I'm not using the MSV line art here because I don't think the MSV line art for this particular mobile suit looks very good. Ellie, thank you for the subscription. So this was actually, you know what? Do I want to wait until I do the goof for this? No, it's fine. So this was developed in tandem with the goof and using goof parts in canon. So canonically, this was the fastest thing on the ground in the 1 Year War. Faster than anything else made by Xeon, and faster than the anything made by the Federation. So I like the sleekness of the arms. The arms work well for being. They're definitely Zaku, but considering that it has to like fit with the goof bits of it used, I think it does a great job with that. The arms really sort of make the design here, in my opinion. The colors are kind of not great. I don't agree with the color choices. They're kind of ugly, if you ask me. But we're not. I don't think we need to judge it too harshly for that. It's nice that the goof shoulder here is a bit of a visual indicator, like, oh, this uses goof parts, which tells us as the audience a bit about what it is, which is nice. It's not the fastest would be me if I was getting chased by a big 18-meter robot. I don't know. Your legs would be really short compared to an 18-meter tall robot. I'm not sure how the cockpit would open, actually. I never thought about that before. But, oh well. I don't think that's that important. But we get to see these thrusters, which are nice. But on the ground, it makes sense that the fastest thing on the ground wasn't something like Origin's Zaku 2 surface type, which I have some issues with, but it's not on this tier list, though. I didn't include that one. But considering, realistically, for the ground, you would want to focus mostly on being light to be fast. The bright green looks like it's wearing a jumpsuit. Actually, now that you mention it, I can't unsee it. I'm not the biggest fan of the color scheme anyway. Yeah, you're right. But this I actually really like. It's one of my favorite versions of the Zaku design, and I think I do like it a bit better than the normal Zaku. But I need to start putting things in not A tier, because so far everything is kind of an A tier. I think we'll put the Gundam at S for now. Well, no. We'll keep it there for now. Okay, this was gonna... Okay, I want to do something that... Let's do something that I can put low. Like the Zok. Okay, so I want to preface this. Gundam just that peak that makes an A, yeah. But that doesn't... That's another thing I forgot to mention at the start. So this is very relative to what I'm doing. So, like, anything from Baver's Transformers compared to this would go in D tier. And furthermore, if the worst thing in this was in... It would... Anything in this tier list that was in a tier... If you put that in a tier list of Baver's stuff, like Baver's Transformers stuff, it would be S tier. Even if it's something like the Zok, it would go in S tier. So what I'm saying is that everything is very relative. And not everything can be in S tier. So I'm gonna put some things in D tier. And that doesn't mean I don't like the design. If I don't like the design, I will let you know. I will be very vocal about that. Leave my baby alone. I am gonna say good things about it, don't worry. But back to the Zok. So I do need to preface this with, you have to remember It looks really short, but it's actually enormous. This thing is an entire 30 meters tall. It's taller than the Unicorn or New Gundam. It's taller than the New Gundam's overall height, not just the head height, if you include the funnels into its height. So that does help it be a little bit more, like, intimidating and cool. That said, the arms look very toyish. I actually do really like the mono eye rail, the star-shaped mono eye rail. That's very cool. But the arms, like I said, the arms look very toyish. I like how completely symmetrical it is front and back. Yeah, that's... Well, other than the legs, I think, maybe. I actually don't even know about that. So, the arms also don't look like they would be great. They painted it egg green and gave it related limbs. Yeah. It is egg-shaped, actually. So, these spikes here manage to feel toyish with their design and, like silly. The arms don't look good for close quarters combat, and then every other weapon is a beam for this aquatic mobile suit. Like, the Zagok can get away with it because it also has missiles. Same with the Akai, except it also has Vulcans. The HG's legs are symmetrical. Oh, I didn't know because I never got the HG because I'm not a big fan. It's expensive. I don't like this thing very much at all. Also, it has the cooling issue. Well, it doesn't have the cooling issue if it's in the water, which is why they did it, but it still seems very foolish. And then, also, like, it's without having almost any panel lines, it still feels over-designed. There's a lot of, like, shapes happening right in this area. And then these feel a little bit needless as well, and it could have been done way better. And I like to say good things about older designs, but in this case, I don't have that much good to say about it. Making an aquatic MS in a spacefaring society was certainly a choice they made. Well, I mean, things like the Zagok did make sense, but this does not. So, D tier. Okay, now for the aquatic Zaku, the Zaku Marine type. MSM01, I believe. So, the Earth was always going to be a battleground, though. Yeah, exactly. So, I do like the more antennae around, or not antennae, the more, like, so I do like this one antennae, since I mentioned it. And I do like the more, like, cables around the head. It gives it an aquatic feel. It was designed by a Xeon engineer that has set foot on Earth. That's true. The arm coverings are, first of all, why we never got a modern kit of this, even though they could do it. But they really make it feel way more aquatic. A lot of the torso actually looks more Zaku 1-like, even though this is based on the Zaku 2. But the joint coverings are very cool. And in general, it does feel somewhat sleek, and it feels very aquatic. It makes sense why it failed in Universe, and I think the fact that it did fail in Universe actually makes the design a little bit... it makes me like it more, because it makes sense that this sort of design, that, like, you know, you're making a mecha, you don't have to make it perfectly humanoid, and also, humans aren't water-breathing things. Xeon, did you ever got to put diver flippers on the legs? Yeah, I don't think that's very necessary with the thrusters in the bottom of the legs. So, like, I forgot what they're called. Propellers, I guess. Speaking of the backpack, also, the change in backpack is very cool. As are these thrusters in the arms, which are thrusters, by the way, for anybody who thought they might be weapons. Same thing on the Gelgoog. They're not weapons, they're thrusters. It has a military look form look to it, especially with the shorts and boots look. That's true, actually. It does, it is very cool. I'm going to actually, I think I like this more than the standard Zaku, but less than the high mobility type, which means I might have to put this, I'll put this in B for now. Okay, the Zaku 1 sniper type. This is specifically the unicorn version because it has the highest quality line art, and it's basically the same thing anyway. Even they hardly changed the unicorn one's line art at all because it was originally a Kotoki design anyway. Anyway, I do like these little spike things. Which, fun fact, actually, I had an argument with my friend about whether it had that or not. And I was thinking, like, yeah, it has the little spikes on the arm, on the shoulder, right? But he was saying, no, it doesn't. Because it turns out, the original is the only one that doesn't have the little tiny shoulder spikes. Which is the version that the most commonly available high grade is. So, that's why it's that whole exchange happened, which is kind of funny to me. Anyway. So, it's nice that it has, the head from the Zaku 2 reconnaissance type, or rather it has some aspects of the head, because yeah, that makes sense for sniping. Also, it makes sense that it would be a Zaku 1, because snipers don't really need mobility anyway. This is actually a sniper, unlike every single Federation sniper unit, which is actually just a high-performance mobile suit with sniping capabilities. This activates my neurons, yes. The knee thing is very cool. We like that a lot. This is, like, I'll say bad things about Hajime Kotoki's mecha designs, because, and I don't like some of his, like anything that's Verka, I probably don't like, and his origin stuff I despise, but a lot of Kotoki stuff I really do like Sentinel, for instance, and this, I really like this, and this is a good, it makes sense that when mobility is like one of the main things that can give a mobile suit a huge advantage on the battlefield, especially for when you can't use beam weapons anyway. This is a way that it makes sense to repurpose older mobile suits that can't actually remain competitive against the enemy's newer mobile suits. And that makes sense for why we see them in as late as you see like 96 still being used and still very effective. One thing I actually didn't notice before is this little armor on the shoulder, which is interesting, and I'm not sure why it's there, but I don't dislike it. But a sniper rifle on any Fedi Anaset becomes a sniper unit. Even gun cannon can become a sniper unit. All it needs is a little extra power supply. So technically, the only one that actually, to my knowledge, did that was the Gym ground type. It became the Gym sniper type if it held the sniper rifle, but that actually was the Federation's only actual dedicated sniper, because it couldn't really move around while holding the sniper rifle, because it had to be connected to an external generator, which wasn't even on its backpack like the Zaku 1's. Which it's not a complaint. I like a lot of Federation sniper things. Actually, I might like them more than if they were actually snipers. I will like talk shit about the Federation, like, oh, they don't even actually have snipers. But they clearly work. And spoiler, the spoiler alert, the Gym Sniper 2 will be put pretty high on this tier list. But this one is going to go right there. And on another mobile suit derived from the reconnaissance type, the Zaku Flipper. Now I'm wondering if a gun tank could be theoretically with a sniper rifle. Maybe. RX-81 on the list or not. Which... Let me check. That was the... Wait, that was a G-line, yeah. I was trying to remember which one that is. I believe it is. Oh, well, we'll find out. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm almost certain. But anyway, the Zaku Flipper. I actually really like this one. So, at first glance, it seems like a little bit excessive. But, so, you gotta remember the fact that, largely radar doesn't work. And if you want it to work, it needs to be very strong, hence the giant antenna array on the backpack and the two antennas here, which, by the way, the two antennas there are an amazing touch. Very function over form with the look. That's debatable. Because I think this looks great. It called flipper, but is the leg flipping or not? That's your question. So it's called flipper because of the movement of the backpack panels. But anyway, other than that, and even those, in high amounts of Minovsky particle density, the backpack's not going to work. So you're down to just visual scanners. So it has a lot of those, and that makes sense. So I actually really, really like this. And then also, it needs to be fast so it can get back to them, to like its allies, with the its data, which is why it was actually the first ones were just black Sakuchu S's, which were just black for a little bit of extra stealth. Zion just put a big mono eye bigger than his head. 3 of them. Three mono eyes on like a thing. But it's nice the like almost scope dog like appearance that the head has, and I really like that. So I'm gonna put this higher than the sniper type even. I like that a lot. Okay, next, something not from the 1 Year War technically, but we're putting it on this. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this is part of a series which I'm actually redoing the old ones because they sucked. Also, I didn't realize I was a girl yet, so I presented myself on stream very differently. But more importantly, I just wasn't a very good streamer yet because I just started. So it's part of a series where after doing all of every Gundam series, I'm going to take all of the S-types and then do one final tier list to see which ones are truly the greatest designs, in my opinion anyway, in all of Gundam. And so a lot of ones like all the 83 like the 83 stuff. Yeah, this isn't technically 1 Year War, and the first time I posted the original tier list on Reddit, people got very mad that 0083 stuff were there, even though they're not 1 Year War, which is pretty funny. But would you have me put this in the Zeta one or the 1 Year War one? Like, obviously, this should go in the 1 Year War one. It feels way less. It would make way less sense in the Zeta one. Anyway, now that that's over, like that tangent is over. Actually, to the design, I really like this design. Reddit does this. Reddit does. Yes. None of my. I think so far most of my TOS things have had a negative amount of likes, which is pretty funny. I don't use Reddit very much because of that. But anyway, so for a while I thought this might have been a Shoji Kawamori design because it does really look like some of his designs for Armored Core, particularly the legs. The legs look like medium to light Armored Core 2nd gen legs, which is why that's my favorite part of this design is the legs. I love these legs. If these were in an Armored Core game, they would be I would use them all the time, even if they sucked, because they're great. But it's actually not a Shoji Kawamori design. I believe it is Mika Akitaka, which is the... I actually don't know what most people know him for. I guess probably this, honestly. But I absolutely love this design. The rifle was my main weapon in Gundam Breaker 2 for a while. Ratchet, I unlocked it. But also the big thrusters on the shoulders, which is another reason I thought that this was a Shoji Kawamori design for the longest time. Which actually makes me wonder if maybe... Oh, you know what? Since this was based in canon on the GP04, and Shoji Kawamori did the other GP designs, Mika Akitaka was probably intentionally mimicking Shoji Kawamori's style. That makes sense. Which also means he did a good job at it, because I thought it was. But I really like the arm things. And in a lot of ways, it is kind of obvious that this is not actually a Zeonic design, for the most part. Things like the shoulders kind of feel more Zeonic, which I believe in canon they actually were just directly lifted from a high mobility type version of the Kampfer. But things like these defined knees or the shape of the feet feel very Federation-like. Or these exposed joints here. But things like these arms feel tacked on specifically to disguise it as a Zeon mobile suit, which is exactly what it is. So I really like that. It makes a lot of sense. And then the Vulcans on the arms are a great addition. I don't know why more things don't do arm-mounted Vulcans. As I understand it, the main 3 places is to put Vulcans are the head, the torso, or the arms. The arms have the advantage of that you can point them in a direction that the body or head is not looking. And you have more precision, whereas the head, you don't need to have it facing the same direction as whatever your arm is holding. And then, but you still can move it indirectly. However, not to as much of a degree or at the same amount of accuracy, as well as head rattling around, making it not the ideal thing for sensors. And then the chest is just, if you don't have any other place you can put them, it works, but you can't move it around separate from the body. Some seed MS have feet Vulcans. Well, that's usually specifically for war crimes. So, or if you ask them, because MS weapons are overkill for definitely infantry and not civilians, because they would never. But anyway, I really like the arm-mounted Vulcan option, and it's a shame we don't see that more often. So it's nice that this has it. And I really love the way that it's generally curved at the top and the front, and then the back feels spiky, which gives it the impression of speed. It makes it feel like a comet or something with the silhouette that it gives. And I love it when mobile suit designs have a coherent thing that they're trying to tell you with the silhouette like that. To look at a comment, indeed. But I really like it when it's when a mobile suit has that sort of that design language with the silhouette as a whole. And this does an amazing job of that, so it is an easy S tier. Next, something that doesn't exist, which is why it doesn't have any model number, because it's not supposed to. Technically, I think I don't know if it's final evolution or second final evolution of the Zuda. A sad fate for it to end off with, but yes, the Jim Kamolf. Which it desperately wants you to believe it's a gym so that it can do war crimes. Which is why it officially doesn't exist, because this is very illegal, and they were not supposed to be doing it. And I like this a lot. The one vent being gone it looks very cool, and it does look, for the most part, like if I blurred the image, you guys, you might guess that it's a Jim Kamolf because it exists, but if you didn't, you'd definitely think that it's a Jim. I said I almost said Gelgoog because I was looking at the at a chat. I see the GQ Goog this. That is probably because both are an interesting mix of Xeon and Jim. The leg shaping is very nice. I very much agree, and that's one of my favorite things about this. The arms too, they have a nice gentle curve to them. It feels very what's the word? It feels graceful and refined, It's probably not the best in combat. The armor was apparently paper thin, and the generator was very limited and various other stuff. But hey, it doesn't need to be if your opponent doesn't know that they're about to be attacked by what they think is a friendly unit, does it? I love the arms in this design, lethal and strong design. Exactly. So this is also going to be an S tier. Should I actually change this? Let's see. Let's change it to no crop. Yeah. Actually, no, it probably is better square. Okay, the Zaku 2 F2. This, I believe, originated from F... Yeah, at first it was going to be just the redesigned Zaku 2. Actually, originally it was from Sentinel. And they just used Kotoki's Zaku redesign from Sentinel for 83. But I'm very glad that they recanonized it as a separate, like... What's the word? Like, thing, variant. And it does make sense that they would upgrade the Zaku late in the war, since they had so many of them. The way the chest juts out is interesting, and I'm not the biggest fan, but the bigger shoulder armor is nice. As well as this little detail on the arm. My favorite thing about it is the knee joint. I love the knee joint. That's actually why I really want one of these, because the Zaku 2 FZ has a similar knee joint. Probably the same in canon. And it's so nice, especially it feels so nice to see it in motion in Gunpla form. They've really translated it well to the high grades for these. The gray cords, cables. That was a nice touch too. The NB Zaku, is there a reason the Zaku is non-binary? Anyway, this arm thing it's different, but I don't dislike it, and it does feel pretty, it feels very Kotoki, and not in a bad way at all. It's, overall, I do think I might like this more than the original, but I'm not sure, but I do know that it is very good. And I like it more as a variant, for sure. I'm going to put this very close to the original. I think for now, I'll put it just barely above the original. But I might move that to below later. And speaking of... Actually, I'm gonna move things around a bit randomly. Just to give us a bit of a better spread. We'll do that next. There we go. Okay, the Gym Light Armor. I don't have very much nice to say about this one. I don't like this one at all. So first of all, why is the beam saber hilt so thin and long? Naked Gym. Yeah, it does feel naked. The lack of like ankle armor here, like how much weight are you really saving by that being gone? I guess it's fine, especially if this is going to be in space where feet are more of landing gear than anything else. But then why does this go so far down? And then I'm not a big fan of the way the torso is proportioned either. The arms feel too thin, in my opinion. The head feels very like dome-like and not great. If this was like why not just have the normal gym head? Looks like Ratchet from Transformers. It kind of does a bit, but if this was in a Transformers tier list, it'd probably do significantly better. Temu Gym. And then the gun I actually do like. That's the one thing I do like about it. It looks very cool. I would like to see a gym using 2 of those. But still, D tier. At least it's going to be a better MS, the high boost gym. That's true. Okay, the Blue Destiny Unit 1. My brain just blanked for a second. So this is the game design, but it's sort of representing both the game design and the manga design. I like the head antenna on the manga design has, like head fin on the side, but I like almost everything else better about the game design, particularly the eyes. You can't see them in this illustration because it's just the visor, but it's the eyes in the manga version are very Gundam-like eyes, whereas the eyes in the original game they're circle and like big and wide. They look so freaky, like sort of like that one illustration of the red Gundam in G-Quacks, for those who have seen it, for that one part. And I love how freaky it looks, like the red circle eyes shining through the visor. It's so cool. I like the shoulder design quite a bit. And it's interesting how much this is based on the it's based on the gym ground type, and you can tell. You can mostly tell from the chest. But I really like the shoulders, or not shoulders. I should have said shoulders. The knees, and then these like things as well. Except for new and bitter, probably butchered the spelling pile from Star Wars memory. Oh, okay. Not non-binary Zaku. Okay. Actually, you know what? No, I changed my mind. No, not anymore. From this point on, the Zaku 2 F2 is now non-binary. Anyway, one of my favorite parts is the way that this like leg flap makes the legs like flow. That looks so good. Hydrate. I just did, but I'll do it again. June's coming up, so why the heck not? Hey, even if June wasn't coming up, it doesn't need to be Pride Month for the LGBTQ community to exist. We're always here. We don't magically like appear during June and then disappear for the rest of the year. Or maybe we do, and you're seeing into the. I'm streaming from the lesbianism dimension. I only get to actually exist in the real world during Lesbian Visibility Week and Pride Month. Maybe I'm streaming to you guys from there. Who knows? It is a neat coincidence. My bad if it was off. No, it wasn't. There's something wrong with what you said. But I will go on a tangent whenever I can. Anyway, the extra vent here in the cockpit is nice. It's nice how they took that and kind of ran with it for the Unit 0. Spotify just played the same song twice in a row. It's only done that once before, and it's not supposed to do it ever. Anyway. I overall really, really like the Blue Destiny 1. I have a high grade of it. I really need to build it. What's interesting about the high grade is it lets you build it as the manga version or the anime version in terms of the head. I might try and put the antenna, or the like blade antenna from the manga version on it, on the anime version head, or the game version head. But probably not, because I'm probably just gonna want to keep it as the game version so that it's the version that appears in the game. But it's gonna go in S tier, probably right in between these two. Next, so this is actually a custom line art. Surprisingly, there's no line art of the Zaku 2 R2 in the normal green colors, despite the fact that that's canonically one of the 4 colors it had. The other 3 have line arts, but not this one. It's so bright. I probably could have chosen a slightly darker green, but eh. So yeah, this is a custom line art. I chose to do this, add this one instead of the normal red, because I don't know. I if it was mass produced, this is the colors it would be in. So it made sense to add this one to the stream, so I did. Anyway, I don't actually really like this like shape there. I do like the sharper spikes on the thing. This is my favorite type of antenna for the Zaku, which could be put on an S-type, or any of the other high mobility Zaku's, or even the F-type if you wanted to. But it's generally associated with the high mobility type, because usually I think on others, the most common antenna to put was the same model that Char had on his. Which makes sense. That Char would go for the it was probably the most common for a reason, is what I'm saying. I really like the way that the armor here is shaped. And this is, honestly, I don't think the Okawara line art really benefits this one very well. I think this one, unlike the original Zaku, was kind of let down by Okawara's line art. But also, there isn't really any other line art that I could find good quality. I do actually think the Xenography line art is really good for this one. But I couldn't really find it in good quality. Although this is an opportunity to show something that I made. Let me actually, I'll do, no, I don't want to, ew. How do I just get, hang on. I want to make that go away for a second while I show something that I made. Actually, man wearing green suits and bell-bottom trousers. So, for one, I made this. Which is... There's a few different bits of DNA in there. A lot of it comes from the Xenography line art. For the... Actually, specifically the Xenography line art for the high mobility R1A. But I couldn't actually find it in good quality. The Johnny Ridden R2 line art used for the Psycho Zaku wasn't that bad quality. That was the Xenography, I think. But it was very small size, so I like to have most of my line arts at a pretty decent size, so that I can keep partly so that they all fit in with one another. But anyway, the legs are actually, you wouldn't believe it, but they're partially redrawn Origin legs, because they were the only ones that I could find that actually fit with the Xenography ones, or the line art. And then the head is the F2 to get away from the yucky Origin head. I'm not a big fan of the Origin Zaku's head, by the way. I'm not a big fan of the Origin Zaku at all. But the base proportions are generally pretty nice. Actually, I'm afraid to say this, but I don't actually hate the Zaku, that version of the Zaku as much as I used to. I'm starting to not hate the way the details are done, except on the shoulder. That's dumb on those. But anyway, some other stuff that I made that I'm going to show you guys. See, now that you're watching, I've got you captive. I showed the Zaku cannon and Zaku half cannon Sunless. The Zaku cannon is, the half cannon is not. But see, if you guys wanna see the other tier list things, you gotta watch. You gotta look at the. I've got you guys captive now. Now you guys have to look at the stuff I made. Like this. This looks like just a recolor of the Gundam. But actually, if you look at the torso, that's a gym torso because it does not have a core block system. This is the RGM, or not RGM, the RG-78AV. The Gundam mass production type. Nobody seems to really know what the actual intended colors were, so I just made it in gym colors. But just for fun, I also made a version that was roughly RX-78 colored. Except I made the torso white because that way it really screams, there's no core fighter in here. But I actually didn't make this to have it. I made this as a stepping point. Even the creator almost fumbled the name. My brain doesn't work right now, okay? Anyway. This, the RG-79 AV, which used slightly more gym parts, I think more than 30% now, and it has a visor. I didn't know if I should, and it didn't have a V-fin, but I didn't know if it should have the center gem on the front, so I just kept it there. This would be a sick kit bash. It would be interesting to do the visor, I think. And then I also put it in the gym colors, which are way better for both of them, honestly. But yeah, and then I made that and I'm pretty happy with it. But the other things that I'm more happy with are this. This is actually going to be for a fan fiction I'll be writing. A one-year war fan fiction. I love to see a cold other version of the RG-78. That would be neat, actually. But this is a modified, looks almost like the Uma Lightning Zaku. Well, if you look carefully, look at the chest. I widened it. Let me find out, what was the name of the pilot? The pilot is basically a friend of mine, if he was in, Gundam. It was Orizu Obvet. I don't know where he got that name, but my friend did come up with that name, and it does feel very Gundam-like, so. But it's based on the, Zaku 2 R2P, which is the prototype for the Zaku 2. Its main weapons are a Heat Hawk and a Gelgoog beam rifle, which, to people who know anything about Gundam, but don't know about the Zaku 2 R2P, probably sounds a little odd, because the R2P originally used a prototype version of the Act Zaku generator, so it could use a beam rifle. Except it had some cooling problems that were later fixed with the Act Zaku, but before that, it was made into the production model of the, R2. Zaku 2 R2. But yeah, I made that, and I'm actually really happy with the widening of the chest. And then... Oh, I also made that, which is just a recolor of the Zaku with a Commander Antenna, which is from my character, the character based on myself, which I don't know what her name will be, but she'll be the squad leader. And then this for another member of the squad, of the 3-person squad. But it's it's mostly Gabaldi Beta with the armed buster of a Gelgoog desert type, and also a sniper variant of the desert type's head, which is modified back for space use. And its main weapon is the sniper rifle that's used by the Zaku sniper, except it doesn't need to be linked to a backpack anymore. And it also has the backpack of the Zaku flipper, because you know, sniping and stuff. And then, finally, the one to be used by my character, the character based on me, in the, like, end stages of the war, is an Act Zaku with some added Gelgoog armor and the head of a previously used mobile suit, which is the Goof Custom, which will be her mobile suit on the ground before going back up to space. Which and the only change in weapons is that it uses 2 beam sabers captured from a gym command. And I'm pretty happy with all of these. I think I did a good job. But now I will free you from looking at stuff that I made. And we'll get back to it. But yeah, the Zaku 2 R2 is one of my favorite designs. I do actually like the red colors better. But anyway, This one is going to go... I think, actually, this is going to go in S tier. Nothing in C tier yet. Okay. The, Why... If I were to make a customized battle, I would put a full wrap of Gundam face in the ball and call it a day. Battle just slowly rise in the back of the hill and troll all the Zeon soldiers. So, supposedly somebody did that. It was called the B Gundam, and it was a ball that looked like a Gundam head. And supposedly, according to the guy who made it in Crossbone, not only did he accidentally manage to be very successful, even though its balance was all off, you know, okay. Well, I'm going to finish telling the story now. Supposedly, according to him, that's why the Zeong was so big, was because they were trying to match it to the Gundam, how big they thought it was, having seen the B Gundam. That's almost definitely false, by the way. he was not telling the truth. At least if that did happen, that's not why the Zeong was that big. But it's really funny how many people just think that that's actually why it was that big. Anyway, the Zuda. I actually don't have a Zuda, which really sucks. I need a high-grade Zuda. Badly. But weapons-wise, there's not much to say about it because it uses all the same as Zaku 2, which makes sense. I read that in a manga, and that one panel sticks to my mind. It was a memorable part of the manga. But, so, first of all, I like how sleek it is compared to the Zaku. It's an almost Federation level of sleekness, which is nice. But it doesn't feel like a Federation design at all. It's Federation level of sleekness, but in a different way. I really like the way that the antenna is from the center of the mono eye track. That's very cool. At least in the commander version, which is what is here. I like the shield in the back of the arm a lot. Don't forget Zuda is the first one to use the anti-ship rifle on screen. That is actually true. I forgot about that, which is very cool. I love the anti-ship rifle, even if it wouldn't suit me well at all. It's very cool still, and it is very fun to use in Extreme versus Maxi Boost On. Anyway, I like this one a lot. I don't know how much more I really have to say about it. I like the thrusters on the back there, and putting the Heat Hawk on the side of the leg makes a lot of sense. I don't know why more Zaku things don't do that, but this one does. So, that's cool. And it is also going to get an S tier. But below itself, all strapped up in Zuda stuff. Actually, let's put it there. I might have to put that down to... I think I shall put that down to A. Fun to use A, not fun to use in lore. Go fast enough and boom. Well, yeah, but of course, I like to imagine a universe where I'm able to use it because I'm that good that I can be careful enough. Anyway, the Zaku 1. Fun fact, for the longest time, the Zaku 2 was just called Zaku, and the Zaku 1 was called Old Model Zaku. I think it was actually... It might have been Gundam the Ride, maybe, that first called it Zaku 2. I don't remember. But for the longest time, those were the names. But I do like how this looks. It looks more primitive than the Zaku 2, but it also doesn't look like it was just designed to be a more primitive version of the Zaku 2, you know? It does a good job of actually looking like it is the actual predecessor. Fixed end problem. I forgot what model is, but it is after the EMS-10. It was the EMS-10F. It was the Zuda F-type that fixed the engine problem. The helmet looks jammed in there. Maybe it's a color difference, but it's so funny to me. Does it? I am beating the exploding engine of a Zuda by cruising at 3 miles per hour. Soupy, welcome to the stream. Why am I getting hoarse? Do I need to stop speaking for a day? I didn't talk like hardly at all today. Maybe it's because I didn't talk. That could be it. Hydrate. I just did, so I guess I gotta do it again. Okay, the double hydrate happened. Put another round shoulder shield in color blue. Congratulations, he's made Rambo Ral Zaku 1. Did he canonically use it, though? I don't remember. What I do know, though, and kind of irritates me, is there's a high grade of this. It's the Black Tri-Stars color, but they didn't use the Black Tri-Stars. Did use the Zaku 1, but not in those colors. They used, by the time they used the Black Tri-Stars, or the Black Tri-Stars were using it, their colors were primarily blue, not black. Then they switched to the I think actually they were test pilots for the Zaku 2A type, maybe, I don't remember, and then the Zaku 2C type, and then I think F type, and then S type, and then the high mobility type Zaku. But anyway, when they got Zaku 1 or Zaku 2 S types, I believe that's when they started using their now signature black and purple colors. Or maybe it was when they got the high mobility types. I don't remember. But not when they're using the Zaku 1. So that's a slight lore tangent for you. By the way, the Zaku 1 high grade is actually really good. I have one that I'm using to make into the Borjon and Gavin Gooney custom from Turn A Gundam. Anyway. Another time, I'll tell you my crazy theory that so far, like, one person believes me about how the Borjarnon is actually not a Zaku in Zaku 1. They're Hyzax. But that's a tale for another stream. Maybe. Unless somebody asks about it in the chat. Then I'll gladly ramble about it. My conspiracy theory. Anyway, I do really like this, and I think the colors they chose for it work really well. And they work really well without... They're also similar to the Zaku 2, but they're not just Zaku 2 colors. They're distinct enough, and that's very cool. So this is going to get, I think, C tier. Oh, I need to allow that. I guess Hyzex because it was leaking. I'm right. I'm right. I'm not crazy. They're Hyzax. Okay, look what you've done. How about how not every mobile suit, but come on, some of them are. Okay, let me find my sources. Okay, so the big differences. Wait, no, that's not how I want to set that. So first of all, let's start with things that you could very easily successful bait for more IIAP. So let's start with things that you could very easily just argue are just like that's not the case. So first of all, looking at it, the proportions are definitely probably museum piece before the event of tech disintegration. Well, they were found like in the like nanoskin, but anyway, so the proportions are more Hyzac like, particularly the skirt armor, the head, the torso, and the legs. Less so the legs, but they do feel more Hyzac like. But in the mountain cycle, I thought, well, yeah, but in the mountain cycle they were like covered in nanoskin stuff, I think. I don't remember. But yes, they were found in a mountain cycle. Either way, so, and I do agree they were museum pieces, but I'll get to what I was saying. So I think by the time of Crossbone Gundam Dust, I think the one Zaku 2 we see there was the only one remaining. I'm pretty sure I remember them saying that. But even if it wasn't, I have more proof. Or the squirrel from Ice Age cartoon hiding in the ground. Okay, well, I do have more proof, though. Okay? So now that's a Zaku 2F, supposedly. Right? It's supposed to be a Zaku 2F type. Hang on. Or maybe J. Actually, probably J. Let me... Where is it? Trying to find a piece of line art. Okay, well, I can't. So, this is an image of the... It is of the Gabanguni custom, but the normal Borjonon opens its cockpit in the same way. That is not how the Zaku cockpit works. That is how the MS-06JC works, which was an upgraded model of the MS-06J. But that's not how the Zaku's cockpit works. The Zaku's cockpit works by that little part folding up, which, by the way, it literally can't with the shape there. Okay, but of course they did that with the JC, which was originally not supposed to be different, I think, and also the FZ. So, you know, maybe we can say, okay, that's again that's not proof, right? Take a look at this. Now you might be thinking, oh, that's not a panoramic cockpit, because it's not how the Origin Zaku cockpit opens. Yes, but I hate the Origin Zaku. But no, it doesn't look like it's supposed to be the Origin Zaku. But that's why I'm saying, yeah, you could just say, okay, well, they redesigned it to be like that. But if you look at this, you think, oh, well, this proves that it's a Hyzak, right? Because that's not a panoramic cockpit. The Hyzak was notably the first mass production mobile suit to have a panoramic cockpit. But doesn't this look suspiciously spherical? Like, doesn't this look more like a spherical panoramic cockpit that somebody stuck a bunch of stuff to? That's not what the normal Zaku cockpit looks like. It kind of is. It looks similar, like very similar, but it's not nearly as spherical. So this is that's another piece of information. And then finally, well, not finally, but on this one, so first of all, these are around the same power level, which they shouldn't be. The Zaku 2 one should be notably more powerful than the Gabanguni custom. But then also, what's that? Let's open that up again. There's not supposed to be any cable there. The Zaku 1 doesn't need any cables. And then right there, it's pretty blank. And then here, there's different armor. And that armor looks suspiciously like it's hiding cables. Why would it be doing that? Especially because there's nothing covering, there's not like armor covering the cables on this one. So why would they bother to cover it on this one? Right? And then also, my final piece of evidence. Let's see if I can find the screenshot. I know it was there. There we go. I found it. They know the cable is the main weakness for a Zaku. It's not, though. We hardly ever see the cables being actually targeted. And again, if they do that for the MSO6 or the MSO5 Borjonon, why wouldn't they do it for the MSO6 Borjonon? Especially because the MSO5 shouldn't have a cable there in the first place. There shouldn't be one there. It's not supposed to be there. My final piece of evidence, okay? The most damning piece of evidence I have is this. First battle scene in 79. Well, yeah, but again, that's the only time. Look at this. This supposedly MS-06J Zaku is hovering over the water. Zaku's can't do that. We know for a fact Zaku specifically can't do that. You know what can do that? A Hyzak. Also, The Hyzak was pretty easy to get a hold of at times where like way after the Zaku became extremely difficult to get a hold of. They directly started modifying them into hobby Hyzaks and selling them to people, to civilians. So if you were a civilian collector and you really wanted a Zaku 1 and 2 for your collection, it might have been extremely difficult and expensive, or even completely impossible to get actual Zakus. But you could probably get your hands on a Hyzak and then just modify it to look like a Zaku. Which I'm pretty sure is what the Portionon actually is. Slowly size on tinfoil hat. She's starting to make sense. Yeah, exactly. It's like everybody I tell it to, at the start, they think I'm crazy and it makes no sense. Hyzak is a direct descendant of the Zaku. Hyzak is not a direct descendant of Zaku. The Hyzak uses some Xeon engineering, but the Hyzak is actually more similar in the way it's constructed to a gym. Anyway, the Borgernon is a Hyzak. I've only done barely any, and I'm already an hour and a half in. I better speed up. Otherwise, this is going to be a 5-hour long stream, and I don't want that. Okay, this one is one that the line art is actually not great on. But it is still from Xeon. Well, no, it's... Well, yes and no. I think the Hyzak, the reason it looks the way it does, is that it was originally developed for the Xeon Republic. But that's difficult to say for sure. Also, the prototype Hyzak was literally started with RX. It was RX 106. It's a Federation machine, like, right, like, completely. The Hyzak is not a Zaku. It's no Zaku boy. Anyway, the line art is a little iffy in some points here, mostly on the head. Which is surprising because usually Shoji Kawamori line arts are a lot better than that. Anyway, the GPO-1. I don't actually have both the GPO-1 and the FB because they're almost the same. So this one is sort of representing both. I do that fairly often. So on this one, I'm actually not a big fan of how flat the feet are. Although I did actually just notice that it's like the normal foot in like an insert. And I'm not sure why they did that, but I'm not going to dock away like points, so to speak, for it, because this is representing the normal GPO-1 and the FB. I do really like these shoulders, the way that they're like, they got these at the end, but I do kind of prefer the normal shoulders a little bit. But I really like these flaps here. They're great. Speaking of which, that happens to be what's playing for right now on my Spotify. Actually, if anybody wants to listen along with what I'm listening to on Spotify, you can. The GPO is imposing is all heck. I love it. Yes, agreed. But if you want to listen to what I'm listening to on Spotify, if you join my Discord server, you can, if you want, you can just listen to whatever I'm listening to on Spotify with me. You can do that at any point, honestly. I don't mind. Anyway, I really love this foot design, or this like knee design, and in general, the way that the legs, like, they have this like smooth curve to them. It feels very Shoji Kawamori like, and I like it a lot. It reminds me of some of the stuff in Macross, namely the Valkyries. They have somewhat similar shaped legs, and I really like it. Also I read your Gundam songs cover from Andrew WK. I did listen to that a while back. It was quite good. But most of the time I'd prefer to listen to the original Gundam soundtrack. Anyway, the Core Fighter is great. I think Shoji Kawamori's solution to wanting the propulsion to be on the back instead of inside the mobile suit, it feels much more elegant than the G-Quack solution, which feels a little... Let's just say I'm not terribly fond of the way that the G-Quacks approached that particular problem. But the I really like the way it was done with the GP01, and you can see the way that Shoji Kawamori has this expertise of transforming mecha with that, and it was actually done really well on the real grade also. I have the real grade of the, not the FB, unfortunately. I almost got the FB recently. I don't remember what I got that day instead. I think actually it was the G-Quacks. Yeah, it was the G-Quacks and Nadle. Speaking of G-Quacks' White Gundam. Although I didn't get the White Gundam because obviously that doesn't exist yet. Anyway, the side skirt armor is also really cool. And the I liked the way that these like vents that aren't actually vents, they're the like little thrusters. I like the way that was done too. And the V-fin. In general, this is one of my all-time favorite Gundam designs. It's so wonderfully done. And it feels so balanced too. And I like that lighter color of blue than what we normally see. It works with the GP01 really, really well. So this is gonna go, I think actually right there. Okay, now the Gundam ground type. I need to stop gushing over all the things I love about it quite as much because I need to start going through these a little bit faster. Anyway, so this is what I'm talking about when I say that I don't really like a lot of Hajime Katoki's like redesigns a lot of the time, but like when he makes something original, it's usually really, really good. And this definitely is an example of that. I like the like chest gun there. It's very, very cool. A lot of things don't actually make sense once you really start thinking about it, like the bars on the shoulders. But even still, it makes it feel more grounded, you know? Or wait, is this Katoki? Or is this Okawara? I don't actually remember. Hang on. This is Okawara, isn't it? Yeah. It feels slightly Katoki-ish, but I think it's Okawara. Let me check, actually. Have I made a fool of myself? Yeah. It's Kuno Okawara, and then it was, like, finished up by Kimitoshi Yamane. Yeah. Anyway, I made a fool of myself now. Well, anyway, the head is one of my favorite aspects of this design. It's interesting that it has the gold V-fin when in canon it had really only done white before, even though later gold V-fins have become kind of the standard. I like the knees a lot too, and the feet. The way the feet was done, it feels quite realistic and grounded once again. The beam sabers in here are quite cool too. And where will I put this? And the claw shield, even though it ends up being kind of annoying in Gundam Crossfire / Target and Sight. It's going to go in A tier, right there. Actually, do I like this more than the RX-782? No. Okay. Was this Gun Cannon heavy type? I remember it was RX-77-4. It's Gun Cannon 2. The heavy type was the RX-77-3, I think. Yeah. Okay, so in some respects, this feels a little bit. It feels kind of like mid-70s sci-fi art. Like if you changed the proportions a bit and told me it was somebody's fan-made, or like not fan-made, like an unused Stormtrooper design or something, I would believe you. And that's not a bad thing. It still fits really well in with Gundam. I'm not a big fan of the way the vents are done, honestly. But I do like the green in the vents contrasting with the black. That's very cool. And then I like this beam gun here. That's very cool, as well as the targeting thing there. I thought it was something from Dogram at first. Actually, it does look like a Dogram design. But nope. Gundam MSV. And we'll be doing something inspired by the gun cannon too later. People in my Discord server might know what that is. I'm not sure how many people know that it's descended from the gun cannon too. It's something I only knew about today. Anyway, other than that, a lot of this is just normal gun cannon design, so I'll wait to talk about that until we get there. But the round legs feel a little toyish, but I do like the thick lower legs. Gotta go now, feeling sleepy. Okay, thanks for stopping by, Ognimod. Sleep well. Anyway, the thick lower legs make it feel balanced with the big back stuff. So this is going to get a C tier below the Zaku 1. Okay, the Zaku Cannon, which I recently got a high grade of, although it's the Origin version, so I'll have to do some work to make it not Origin. So I like that this is not the same as the Gym Cannon. I like that it's it was originally developed as an anti-aircraft one, and you can tell it definitely keeps that like that vibe. What's interesting is that the vents there are almost similar in shape to the Hyzax, which is a case of convergent evolution, I guess. But I like the way that the legs are like a somewhat different design, but not too different. I think it strikes the body in general is like rides the line pretty good of being different, but not too different to where it still feels like it could reasonably be a variant in universe, but also it has its own identity. The long barrels of AA rifles are always so cool. Indeed. I actually kind of prefer the bunny ear antennas, but this has the one rear antenna instead. And then this big shoulder shield is also very cool. So it's going to go in C, but above the Zaku 1. Okay, the Gundam... Wait, why did I have this as... I think I misspelled... Or not misspelled. I think I misspelled the line art of this one. I think I accidentally had the line art as FA78-2, and this is FA78-1. Anyway, the Full Armor Gundam. I really like the, like, shield rifle design. Although I do like it when it's more like the Thunderbolt version, where the rifles are a little bit more substantial. But you could also just put that down to the line art. The cannon here is also very cool. But also, why? The Gundam's primary thing that let it be so successful was its speed, and you want to take that away? But also, I'm saying it doesn't make sense in canon, but I'm not saying it doesn't make sense for it to exist in canon, is the difference. Because they would absolutely try to do this with how the Federation government was. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense for it to succeed, which is why it didn't. Which is perfect. It works out. But the green design feels very militaristic and cool. It's a to me. Yeah, it's like I said, it doesn't make sense for it to exist, but it makes sense that they would try and make it exist. I will say there is a point at which them making constant full armors of stuff goes like, okay, why are you so obsessed with this? There's a reason it keeps failing. But yeah, I do like this a lot. Not as much as the O Gundam full armor, or full armor O Gundam. But we will put this right there, the top of C tier. Sunk cost Gundam. Indeed, that's actually, yeah, that's why. Okay, the Goof Custom. So, there's some interesting stuff going on. Some things like the arm gun, the handgun, quite literally handgun, and the shoulders can feel a little bit kiddish. But overall, I think it's fine. Goof Shoop Rise Up. Yes, I love the goof. And then it's interesting that people usually assume this is going to be like, and most people I've seen start watching Gundam, they assume this is going to be like a one-time enemy that Amuro fights, and then they start constantly appearing armed with Zaku guns. Which, by the way, I don't know why more things don't show them with the Zaku gun. They appear holding one in the original Gundam show more often than they don't. But it's interesting on nobody expects it to become a normal enemy, but it totally makes sense that it would. Same with the Dom, and I think even the Gelgoog. Like, for some reason, people watching don't expect any of those to become normal enemies, even though it makes perfect sense that they would. Anyway, the shape of the, like, mono eye track gives it a very mean appearance. It looks pissed off and cool. And then the antenna definitely helps with that. The whip is also quite intimidating, even if it maybe doesn't make the most amount of sense ever. Once, while I was playing Gundam Target in Sight, I managed to hit a Federation Tin Cod fighter with the whip. Or was it a Tin Cod? I think it was the Tin Cod. I'm pretty sure it was the Tin Cod. Anyway. Where is this gonna go? I like it more than the Zaku. We'll put it right there. Okay, the Gelgoog Marine. I recently had a chance to get this and got the normal Gelgoog instead, and I'm so upset at myself. I don't know why I did that. I like this so much more than the normal Gelgoog. I like these bigger shoulders, but they still keep the shape of the Gelgoog shoulders, you know? And then it has this big ass skirt with all the thrusters. Goofo might be one of my favorite grunt suit designs. It is very cool, and it's nice how it can work so well as either a grunt or like a specific enemy. So I think this is canonically the first time in universe that, geez, that's very thick. It is. But I think this is the first time in universe that the thrusters in the arm was actually switched out for a beam gun. Because I think on this one it is. I know on the Jaeger it is, which I do have a kit of, thankfully. But yeah, it's very thick, but it doesn't feel like fat and heavily armored. It still feels like cool and fast, you know? I need to turn off my chat widget and then reopen it. It stopped working. Okay, now we're good. But yeah, this one's definitely gonna go above the normal goof. Not goof, you know. I'll probably put it right there. And this needs to go down to A. S is getting a little crowded for it being S tier. Okay, the Gym Custom. Definitely a fan favorite, and for good reason. It's a very good design, and this one actually is by Hajime Katoki, and I'm not making a fool of myself this time by saying so. I like the thicker legs and knees, but it does a good job of looking similar to the Gym 2 that it was partly based on. Things like this right here, the way that this like lower leg is done. A lot of things like that feel more like the Gym 2, which makes it feel more at home with where it is in the story. You know? The shoulder's also very nice. I like this like way that it does out with the thrusters. It makes sense. The first one always reminded me of the Beta First Draft Unicorn. Maybe the white color scheme and horn. Huh. Well, I mean, it doesn't have the horn, technically. I've heard some people complain that the head feels too advanced for its time, because it sort of looks like a Jagan head, but I don't think it's really an issue. Is it ideal? Probably not, no. But I don't think it's any issue. But yeah, it feels very cool, especially the head, honestly. Which is maybe why I defend it. But it's definitely like it more than the RX-78, and we'll put it right here. Technical, but it looks like one that's gonna find brain to start making dumb connections. That's true. Okay, the Drasi. I've heard a lot of people complain about this, but I don't get it. It's so cool. Why would you not swap out the legs for giant propellant tanks? It's for space. That's gonna give you enough ambac. Come on. I mean, maybe not as good because it lacks a knee joint, but still, it's so cool though. And then the arm gun also is very cool. Although I would maybe prefer if it was the other arm, so the right arm could hold a weapon. But oh well. The head is also very cool. I like the way it can, look around to so many directions. And the big balls of propellant. I forgot to talk about the GP01's backpack. I just remembered, but that's fine. I do like the shield a lot. And this also, it has that same like comet silhouette, which works really well for a design that's supposed to look like it's fast, and it does that so well. I love it a lot. And then you can see how it uses a lot of Zaku parts, which makes sense. Like, there's thousands of them already. You can get tons of spare parts. They already have production lines set up for that. It makes sense. So I will put this. I guess I gotta put this down in B. I'll put it right here. Okay, the almighty Gog. It's totally Goggers. Fun fact, I have my Gog giving the middle finger right now. It's out in the like main living area of my apartment. So it's easy to see this as just looking weird and silly and a product of the 70s where they didn't know what they were doing. But like when you actually see it in motion, it looks quite intimidating. The big claws and the very like wide body, especially because this thing's taller than the average mobile suit of the time. It's like 19 or 20 meters tall. It's enormous. And the giant mega particle guns, and again, it has a little bit of my same like irritation with the Zoc, where its only ranged weapon is beam guns for an underwater mobile suit. Like, really? But I mean, I wouldn't say it's too much of an issue. To an extent, it looks a little odd and silly, but it's still very cool. So I do think that I put it too low in my original one. I don't remember. I probably did. So I guess we'll sort of finally see justice for GOG, but unfortunately, with how much I like a lot of designs here, I can't put it too high. But I will put it at the very top of D tier. Okay, now for peak performance. You might not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. The Barbas. So what's interesting is that it uses parts from a few different Zaku variants, which is why I've never seen a proper Barbas build. Usually they'll just be a Zaku 2 with arms for legs. I mean, yeah, with arms for legs. But they almost always fail to account for the fact that it's got a new backpack. The head is like connected to the backpack. That it's not an F2 body, or not F2. It's not an F body. That's an FZ body and back skirt, and the arms are lengthened. If let's you pilot a mobile suit. So this is piloted by monkeys. New type monkeys, genetically engineered monkeys pilot these, and they have enough generator power to power 4 Gelgoop beam rifles, which is really why mine is not as good as it could be, because it doesn't have any beam rifles. Monkey mecha, yes. But so them using monkeys in warfare, like your brain goes, that's silly. They would never, right? Well, in World War II, both the Allies and Nazi Germany both had plans to make monkey soldiers, because they're cheaper than human soldiers, and then you don't have to worry about, having your actual people that you can, think and stuff die. So it actually makes a lot more sense than you think, especially in the future like Gundam is, where you don't even have to just like work with the ape's basic intelligence. you can, like, genetically modify them, which they did. I couldn't really tell because it looks like it has 4 arms and no legs. It does. You know, like a monkey. Monkeys have arms for legs, so does this one. It has arms in the place where most mobile suits would have legs. It doesn't look like that. It does. So it's like, at first it seems like weird and silly. It's like, oh, that's Crossbone Gundam being all weird again. But no, it actually makes sense. And I will never stop saying that it does. Except for the fact that it uses 4 Gilgug beam rifles. That was a little bit over, that's a bit much. I think it would have been better if it was 4 Zaku machine guns. Or 3 Zaku machine guns and a beam rifle. And that's still incredibly intimidating. That would be enough. That's my main, like, gripe with this, but it's such a small one. It doesn't matter. And it's with the, like, long arms. This thing genuinely, like, if this was coming at you and you're like, you know, it would be spooky. This is, like, genuinely intimidating. I'm not even kidding when I put this in S tier. It has to go there. Actually, I'll put it right there. Put an A or S tier. Well, I put it in S, so it's not even at the bottom of S. It's like, it's in a pretty good spot. Okay, the Camphor. So this is another one. It has that same really good use of silhouette. Not as much, but the silhouette generally has it face. It's like a swooping aesthetic to backwards. You see it with these thrusters on the legs. And then except for the horn. The horn is that's where it, like, the horn ignores that, but that makes the horn feel like a very strong and striking feature, and that's great. And then I also love the way that the arms are done. It makes it feel even more cool. And then the, like, hip mounted beam sabers, you can see that little hole right there. That's beam saber. It, like, pops out. That's very cool, and it's nice to see more early or, like, late Zeon MS from the 1 Year War use beam weapons, because at that point they could do that. I might wish that the other shoulder had spikes. I don't know. Well, I guess it's probably cooler if it doesn't. But yeah, I have like no complaints with this at all. And then the cable here is very cool also. I actually had an argument with Amelia, who might be in the chat right now. I don't remember. The little red nails over the entire blue looks cool. That's true, actually. It makes the thruster stand out, so it helps contribute to that fast appearance. Which it was. It was a hit-and-run machine. It just made me think of a frog with the orange bits, the eyes and lines of mouth. Okay, kind of, yeah. But I had an argument with Amelia recently, who was saying that this doesn't make sense for being a 1 Year War machine, and I will always defend this. Always. Where to put it, though? S tier for sure. Do I have to put this in A? Probably. Okay, the Gym Command... No, this is Gym Trainer. My bad. It's not the horrible one I thought it was. So, it was a super late 1 Year War machine. Yeah, it was. But the head has a bit of that same dome-like appearance from the Gym Light type that I don't like. Same with the Beam Saber. Same complaints. But I really like the cockpit. That's the standout part of this for me. The cockpit, it makes sense as a training machine. I mostly, I was going to say young Bumblebee. It is very yellow. But also the yellow coloration makes sense for it being a training machine. Not a huge fan of these shoulders. It would make more sense if this was just mostly like if you changed the head, shoulders, and beam saber to be more similar to the original Gym, then it would be perfect. And the crotch. I kind of hate that crotch. Makes it look so small. Yeah, the shoulders do make it look small, and the head too. So I will put it in D, but above even GOG. Okay, how much do we have to go? Oh my god, we're like halfway. I need to hurry up, but this is going to be a 4-hour stream. Spawn a bit vulnerable looking. Well, it is a trainer, so it doesn't need to be intimidating. Okay, the Act Zaku. So, you can probably tell from the fact that I made the Axaku my personal mobile suit in the fanfiction that I'm rewriting. I do really like it. It's interesting that it's not actually really... That's a tank-looking mecha. It is. It looks quite wide, but it also... So what's interesting about this is that most Federation mecha use what's called field motors. And this is getting pretty into the like nitty-gritty of the world. But the field motors are similar to servo motors in real life. They're something we actually have in real life. But Xeon Mecha don't use field motors. The Federation did because they couldn't really master Xeon's fluid pulse motor system, which basically works like the brakes of a car, where fluid is pushed through a tube, which forces the arm to, or whatever, to move, which makes it more like a muscle, so it makes it more responsive. It needs less maintenance, and it's more robust compared to field motors. But the main difference is that it was faster than field motors. Until we get to magnet coatings, which have opposing... When you try to put magnets together at opposite polarity, they won't go together. Well, magnet coatings is basically... it will remove the friction from the joints by, instead of the joints actually touching and there being friction, the joints were coated with opposite polarity magnets so that the magnetic fields would touch, but the joints wouldn't actually themselves touch. So it can be way faster. And then Xeon stole that technology, which is why this thing has field motors, which is it's a neat detail. But also it can use beam weapons, which was incredible for when this was introduced. For Xeon, anyway. And I do really like the way that I agree that it looks like very like purpose-built. It looks grounded while still looking cool. So this is going to go near the top of A. I'm going to put that on B, aren't I? Okay, the GPO3, which I think this has a way better done line art compared to the GPO1 FB. The line art in that one has some problems picking on the head. This one does not. I like this one a lot. The high grade, by the way, is very good for the day. It was like what? Let me I can check. Never mind. It's wait, no, never mind. I thought it was near the bottom of this pile, but it's near the top. It is from 2001. I always think it's later than that. But anyway, the high grade's great. But anyway, I need to actually get on with it. The blue feet, usually I prefer red feet. But it was interesting for its time for sure. And then also it's it works with the design and the color scheme. I liked the way that the arms can like unfold, and it uses that like claw thing for that. The way that Shoji Kawamori loves to have his elbows extend past the actual elbow joint. KZLC says, "I'm back." Okay, nice. You're back just in time for the GPO3. Anyway, I really like this backpack and the way the beam saber storage is in it. And my favorite part is these like thrusters on the sides. I think that it's similar to a lot of things I like in things like the Barbatos Lupus, but I think it was done better in this than it was in later ones. And then also the black lines like here, and then all the black details like on the design, they feel like they constantly remind you that this is a Shoji Kawamori design, and it feels very distinctive. He likes his like dark black thick lines on mobile suits like that, or on like designs like that, and I think it works really really well. Shin-chan and mobile suit. But I know nothing about Shin-chan, but I really like this design, and I used to like it way less. It used to be my least favorite of the GP machines, but it's my second favorite now, I think. Or no, it still might be third, but still, that's still pretty good. And we'll put it actually right there. Actually, I might want to put it like right there. Okay, the Bull G, which I found out about today because I think it was Irex requested that I put it in the Yeah, it was Irex requested that I put the bulgy in the stream. Uh, it's based off of the Gun Cannon 2. And I actually really like this thing. The backpack does the like the sort of thing that Thunderbolt likes to do with like shields and thrusters and like wacky backpacks. It does it really well. I really like that actually. And then the Gundam face, the V-fin feels. I love the V-fin on this thing. It's very unique, but it still feels like it fits. And in general, the head feels very, very intimidating. Which, like, that was the whole reason it has a head, even though it's actually not even a Gundam. I think that it might be a little bit over designed, maybe, but honestly, I think it kind of works. I would have expected it to have shoulder cannons, but it's fine that it doesn't. I actually, like I said, I like this thing a lot. It feels very intimidating. I forgot this one's name. It's Bulgy. That design is wild. I agree. I'll just call it Buff Exia. This is nothing like Exia. This is like Exia in like 0 ways. This isn't like Exia at all. Feels similar to Moon Gundam. Noctis, hello, welcome to the stream. I don't know if you've been in my stream chat before. I think you have, but I think it was a while ago. Mostly I see you on Twitter. Anyway, welcome to the stream. It does actually, with the way the details are done, it does feel similar. Anyway, I have no idea where to put this one. Definitely higher than its successor, than what its predecessor. Let's say right there. The head camera, sorry, I was typing on a second on Peanuts. I put one in. Ah, okay. The head camera. I guess. I go for B. I'm going to put it at the bottom of A. Okay, the gun cannon mass production type. So, first of all, the fact that it can swivel on the chest compared to the normal gun cannon makes a lot of sense. Considering it's for ground warfare, where there's not as many Minovsky particles, I like the fact that it actually has antennae here. I feel like that really ties the design together and makes it feel much more like realistic. This feels... Wasn't that the RTX 44? No, this is the mass production type gun cannon. I don't have the RTX 44 in this tier list because I don't really care about it much at all. I don't have any strong feelings about it at all. And nobody requested that I include it, so I didn't. The arms still feel basically the same as the normal gun cannon, which makes sense. The longer cannons they make sense to me, I think. It feels more tank-like while keeping the identity of the gun cannon. And I do actually really like this head as well. I don't know if this needs 1 or 2 pilots, actually. But also the autoloader on the back is very cool. I actually like this more than the normal gun cannon. I think this one, or not gun cannon, gun tank. I think this was the only mass production version of Project V mobile suit that actually improved on it. Looks like a defensive type, yes. Mostly it was used for like base defense and things. By the way, these cannons, when you're playing a Xeon in Gundam Target and Sight, can be a pain in the ass. So when they've got a ton of them and you gotta like stay on the approach and you've got Zoc or like Jims coming at you while you're trying to get close to them so you can destroy them, it's a pain in the ass. What, isn't that the one the Goof killed, custom killed in the 8th MS team? Yes, it is. But I think it can be remembered for more than just dying. Where do I put this? It's very cool. Actually, no, I want to put that like there. I think B. Like there. Looks very real world as opposed to the original design. I mean, the original design can look very real world, especially because like a lot of things are very like the entire bottom tank part, like even the waist is mostly the same as the original. And the arms too. It's mostly just the torso that's changed. Like if you if you take the original and make it more hunched over and then give it those antennae and a longer, like, cannons, it would look pretty realistic. Like, in the same way that the mass production type does. But the main thing that makes the mass production type better is the fact that it can swivel because it doesn't have a core block. Although, supposedly, if you swivel it too many times in the same direction, it screws off. Actually, I still have a lot to place on this. Yes, I'm not even half done. Oh my god, I need to start going faster. Okay, the Gabaldi Beta. This one, I don't remember. I think it was originally an MSV mobile suit, but it's interesting how it takes a lot from the Goku here, especially with the way the shoulders like point up like there. That feels very Goku-like, and the smaller Goku shield. It became helicopter. These again are that's a thruster, not a gun, which makes sense. But it's interesting how it looks more upright than the related Gelgoog, you know? And a lot of that might be the head. I like the colors. I have mixed feelings about the colors. I don't know if I like them or not. But I know I don't dislike them at least. And the backpack also is very cool, and I am going to put it definitely below the Gelgoog. Probably the top of C tier. Okay, the Hygog. Why does it look like some kid is using chalk to draw on its armor? That would be... Kumano Kawa likes to do this kind of shading with MSV. An alien-looking mecha. So, I love this thing. It is so intimidating looking. I think I like this more than the... I used to like the Zakok E more, but I think now I like this one more. But it makes sense the way that this can, like, fold to cover the arms for high-speed travel in the water. Also, the way the arms are, it keeps the identity of previous... The hand position is sus. How? I guess. I don't see it. The shoulders and arms are cool too. Yes, but also it keeps the identity of the GOG is based on, with having the big intimidating arms, but it takes it from this kind of cartoony look to this very intimidating and cool look. I have seen too many people say wood on Twitter about those arms, unfortunately, and now you guys have to know about it too. Let's move on from that. The legs are kind of squat, but I don't think that matters because it's mostly going to be swimming around a lot of the time. It does keep, unfortunately, the issue of its only attacks really being beam weapons, other than the one, like, missile that it can have on the arm. But it somehow doesn't... It doesn't feel as much like an issue. Eldrick said this is one of the few aquatic designs I like from One Year War. I agree. This is definitely my favorite aquatic design. It feels so intimidating and cool. I wish I had a high grade of it. And it's definitely going to go in A. In fact, it's going to go right there. Okay, now the Zeong. This is where I might piss off some people. I really don't like the Zeong that much. I understand its importance to the story. But that doesn't mean I have to actually like the design itself. Missed the goof part. Yes, but don't worry. You'll have another chance soon. Actually, right there. So these head things, they feel like deer antlers, and I don't really like them. I do like the idea of the head acting as an escape pod, and the monowire track is pretty interesting. These thrusters on the torso are interesting, but I think it's a bit much with regarding the size. They stole his legs, can't have shit in you see. Indeed. No, I do also... I think it's neat the way it doesn't have legs, and the fact that it's like... It was only 80% complete, so they just added two really big thrusters. Because, yeah, you don't really need legs in space. I know why Chartis is young, but having legs. Char likes to kick his enemy. Indeed. But also... This feels like such an oversight. I know it was like, oh, it's only 80% done. We didn't have time. But it's part of the design now. So it was justified. But it also, in my opinion, I don't think it looks great. And then I think this orange here is extremely glaring. And then the blockiness of the arms doesn't feel Xeon-like to me. And I also don't think it looks good. If Dragon Ball is mecha, actually, this would probably fit as a Dragon Ball enemy. No, if this was something like Pilaf made, if this was one of Pilaf's mobile suits or something, then I would say it's great. But I wonder if there's anybody in my chat who doesn't know who Pilaf is. Any people who watch Dragon Ball Z and not Dragon Ball. Dr. Gero or Dr. Gero, yeah. Actually, probably more Dr. Gero than Pilaf. Except for the fact that by the time that Dr. Gero was around, a giant mecha would probably be pretty extremely useless against Goku or whoever. So this is going to go in D tier, below GOG. So guys, do you think the people on Twitter, not Twitter, do you think the people on Reddit are going to say, oh, you just hate anything that's not normal? Again. Anyway, the Dom. So this is another one where, again, this is going to be kind of easier to draw than a Zaku, but you know, it doesn't look, it's not obvious that it doesn't feel like that's why. I don't even think it is why. I think it's probably just a coincidence, or maybe it was taken into account, but it doesn't feel like just an excuse to have something easier to draw, you know? I like the big skirt and it works for this. The people probably haven't seen the boomerang throwing a mess. So it's because last time I would put things like the GOG high and things like the GPO1, or like the GOG low, and then people like the GPO1, or things like the GPO1 high. So people were going like, oh, you hate anything that's not extremely normal and average. And it's like, what do you want about? Well, I guess now they can't, considering I put the Barbas in S. That's not why I did it, by the way. That's not why I'm doing any of this. I want to specify, I don't actually care what other people think about this. Anyway, I think this line art could look a bit fatter, but I also don't think that's like an issue. And that's, you know, Kumino Kawada will be himself always, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Maybe I would actually with the line art, but anyway, it is what it is. It's nice and big and intimidating, and I'm going to put it in C tier, right there. Okay, maybe it's because of the shoulders. I think the reason you're seeing like alien leader is mostly because of the head and the way it like slopes. Anyway, this is another request from somebody in my Discord server. I think this was, I think this one was a request from Typhoon 327. It's commonly referred to as the Gym Gundam head, but it's just called Gundam head. Its actual name is just Gundam head, which is kind of funny. But it's basically a Thunderbolt Gym, but with a Gundam type head, which also means I'm also largely doing the design of the Thunderbolt Gym now. Gundam head, yes, because the gym, so gyms usually have a head like, what did I do? There we go. That was also on Space Harrier and Sega Genesis. That is why I kept playing Space Harrier when I was playing Yakuza 0, because of the Dom in it. One of them, I think actually it's a Dom, but with a Zaku flipper head, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Ellie, most gyms have visors like this, not eyes. So this has a Gundam face and eyes, so it's called Gundam head. Anyway, I think the Federation symbol on the head there makes sense. It's very cool. I like this gun. It's interesting to see that on something that's not a full armor thing. The shields are interesting. I don't think the shields like that make sense for normal one-year war, which is why I'm really glad that Thunderbolt is not canon, that it's alt UC, because it doesn't make as much sense being mainline UC, and it makes so much more sense being alt UC. It's so much better. Made to fight mobile's the biggest try space breach, for God's sake. Well, I mean, it's I don't think that's horrible. it doesn't. I don't think that says much about the performance of the mobile suit. That's just how it was in the Thunderbolt sector. That's why it has the extra shields. And why it has the joint coverings, which is interesting that it would have those in space at all. But not bad. But it's very blocky, like very blocky. All Thunderbolt stuff tends to be. I'm glad that it's not mainline UC, and I can enjoy it so much better. It would make more sense as a U-type unit given all the times it has barely dodged rear attacks. I suppose so. I also like these little two antennae. They're cute. But where will I put this? I will put this in B, I think. Probably right here. Okay, the Goof Custom. I think this is a huge upgrade to the normal Goof. Who even designed this? Anyway. I don't think it's Kuno Kawada. Is it Kotoki? Yes, it is Kotoki. Okay. It's Hajime Kotoki. So this is another example of Hajime Kotoki. Like, if he was just redesigning the goof, I don't think it would have been nearly as good. But as a customized goof, that's like a completely different unit, I really like it. So it feels more grounded, and in that way, it really fits in with 8th MS team. It was just custom with the Gatling Burnt Shield. Well, it doesn't have to have that. It could put it down. You could sortie without it at all. So it makes sense not to have it in this image so that we can actually see other parts of the mecha. Anyway. It's got the same like jutting chest thing going on that Zakuto F2 has. So we see that's something that Kotoki really likes. The head is mostly the same, but it looks better in this line art. A lot of that is just it like looking the same but being different because of the line art. But this line art is very good. I love the way this line art is done. This makes more sense than the handgun, which actually makes me wonder if this is even based on the MS07B goof, because the MS07A goof had a normal hand in the other hand. But it is called the MS07B3 goof, so it probably is. Anyway, tangent aside. This makes more the wire thing makes more sense than the thing. Let's see, replace the stupid hand cannon for the regular hand. I respect the hand cannon for what it is, but I do like this better still. But this makes more sense too, and I love the way it was used in the show. So I do like this more than the normal goof. It is going to go in A tier, right here. Okay, another favorite of mine, Alex. How many more do you have left to rank? I've got a few. I'm like half done, if even that. That's why I'm trying to speed up a bit. So I really like the color scheme, and these vents, or not vents, thrusters here, they're so good. Again, we see arm-mounted Gatlings, which are very, very cool. And the UNT Spacey, which is one letter away from being a Macross thing, but in universe, it's a division of what's it called? A division of the EFSF, but it is kind of funny that they just kind of ripped off Macross there. But yeah, I love the proportions and the way that this, like, the gentle curve of there and then the vent there is one of my favorite Gundams of all time, so I've got to put it in S tier. Where is the question? Probably right there. Okay, the G line standard. The Alex, the first Gundam I've ever seen an image of that got me into Gundam. Back when I saw it in a New Type magazine. I think for me, the way I got into Gundam was I had a Fire tablet that I had, which wasn't it didn't have access to the internet because of parental controls, but it did have the Amazon app. So having seen Macross having seen Macross, I was looking for die-cast Macross toys. and I saw one of the recommended items from one of the pages I visited was the real grade Wing Gundam Endless Waltz. And that was the first image I saw of a Gundam. And I put it in the back of my mind. And then I went to go watch the original, but I couldn't find it. So I saw 00 and thought, oh, well, 0, that probably means it's a prologue, right? Which it is definitely not. But even when I just started watching it, and then that got me hooked on Gundam. But anyway, the G-Line standard armor, which I've decided to use I think it was From the Ashes line art instead of the MSV line art, because the MSV line art is kind of ugly as sin, unfortunately. Like, no shade to Kawada or anything, but I really like the shape of this visor, and in general, the head looks very cool. This is the standard armor, but this is representative of all of the G-Line. All of the G-Lines. I like these vents here a lot, and the shape of the shoulders is very cool, as well as the way that the arms have a subtle, like they subtly bend from going like that to like that. That's very cool. Orange colored visor is always awesome on a G-Line. I put the orange visor on my G-Line build. I definitely like the blue more, personally. I'm not a big fan of the way this, like, armor is done here, but it is what it is. I don't hate it. And then the way the feet, like, flow is very cool, and then this thruster here is also very cool. I like this one a lot, and I'm going to put it in, I think, at the very top of A tier. I don't want to put it in S. Okay, the GPO2. Again, we can see those, like, nice thick lines and the shading style right here that Kawamori really likes. It looks like ogre-like. Surprisingly, it looks more ogre-like than the ogre GPO2 from Build Divers, which is kind of funny to me. But I really like the way that it's like. So in canon, it was originally supposed to be a heavy assault mobile suit like the Dom, that was like fast but also heavy, and then it was changed from that to just whatever's the most powerful, which led to being equipped with the nuke. But you can see that in the legs. They're somewhat Dom-like in shape. Not structure, they're more Gundam-like in structure, but in shape they're Dom-like, and it's that interesting like blend that's very, very cool, and I love that. It doesn't actually look that Zeonic. The HMS version is more bulky. It not really, but a little bit. Anyway, the chest I'm not a huge fan of with this, like, weird bulky protrusion, but it works with the design. And then this should look dumb on the top of the head there, but it doesn't. It looks very cool. And then the V-fin it works perfectly. And then this head, it looks, like, in the context of what happens, it works so well for looking very evil and intimidating. But it also makes sense that, like, if this was a heroic design, if this was the protagonist design, I wouldn't bat an eye. And it's great for that. And I'm going to put it also in A. It would be a shame if I didn't. Right about there. No, there. Okay. A lot of people are not going to be surprised about what I'm about to say now if you know me very well. And some people are probably not going to like me for saying this. So, the Bugu. I don't like this thing. So, first of all, why do the cables go so high there? I mean, I guess that's not that big of a problem, but why on earth are there steps on the shoulders? Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why are there steps on the shoulders? Why? Why do you need to climb on the shoulders? How are you going to get there to use those steps? It doesn't make sense for something that would exist as early as, what? UC 75? 70, yeah, I think 75. I don't think this, like, this was the same time that the Federation was still using the gun tank, but like when they were developing it as a successor for the Type 61, not as a mobile suit. Like the Zaku 1 in universe, the prototype Zaku, the actual MSO4 was like, I don't even think it was developed yet in universe. Rant time. Yeah, I hate Origin, and the main thing I hate about probably the number one thing I hate about it is that they really, really messed up the MS development timeline, and nothing makes sense in it for there. I think I've made my point well enough to put it right there. Actually, no, I won't put it. I won't put it at the very bottom. I still dislike Zoc more. Okay, now for something that I can actually say good things about. So, other than the fact that this has no good line art at all that I can actually find, I know it does somewhere, but this is very blurry. It's like like, what's it called? The resolution is fine, but it's so blurry. And I couldn't find any that's not blurry that didn't have really low resolution. But the low resolution ones I could find were clearly from a source that was not blurry. So it exists out there somewhere, but I could not for the life of me find it. Anyway, on this one, this is definitely a gun and not a thruster. The shoulders, again, they're... Is the ball even exist in Origin? I never saw Origin, never will. You're not missing much. I think the ball might exist. Let's see. Doesn't seem like it. I don't think it does. I think it was replaced by this stupid, like, gun tank that's like, or not gun tank, the gun cannon, where it's like, oh, this isn't a mobile suit. That's how we're gonna get away with having mobile suits in a time before the Federation canonically had mobile suits. It's not counted as a mobile suit because it sucks. It's like, that's so lazy. Why? I didn't even include that in this tier list out of hate. It goes in the non-existent tier below D. That means I hate it so much I didn't include it in the tier list. Anyway, I really like this head. It feels very angular and cool. Even more so than the Marine. And then the shoulders are about the same as the Marine, so I have all the same things to say about them. There'll be a soccer tournament in Origin. Great. I'll hear no ball slander. I actually like the ball, and I think it's very useful design. Anyway, the torso is there's not much to say about it, but I like the way that this, like, the waist is done there. And then the feet feel a bit ahead of their time, but I don't think that's a bad thing. You can sort of tell this was a design from the 90s and not the late 70s or 80s. But I think it's fine for the most part. And I do really like it, and I'm going to put it right there, I think. Okay, the Act Guy. This thing is it's like, so much of the fandom, this is like the butt of jokes, but I genuinely really like that guy. It's a perfect design, and the fact that it has that little bit of like goofiness that Xeon designs are known for. But at the same time, it's like, it actually looks like somewhat utilitarian, and it makes sense for the grounded design. Like, the Act Guy was based on it for a reason, yes, and it has that bit of a, like, cute aesthetic almost, but it also looks very cool, and, like, it makes sense for an aquatic mobile suit. So I actually think that the Act Guy is genuinely one of the best aquatic mobile suit designs we've ever gotten, and I will defend that point eternally. And then it does take advantage of beam weapons because it can. And his pilot is famous for that stupid looking wetsuit or whatever he's wearing, and his extremely red nose. But yeah, it does have the beam weapon right there, but it also has the rockets in one arm and then the Vulcans. So I don't think it's a problem. I think it's fine. And then the feet are like, there's not much to talk about there, but they're not like huge like the GOG, which I think is a good thing. Don't forget his Luffy abilities. Can the arms extend? I don't think they really could that much. So I will put this in B. I do actually think I like it more than the Zaku. Okay, now for the Gym Striker. It's better at his job than the Aqua Gym, so... So, what's interesting is that when you first see this, it's like there's a lot of detail, but when you actually look at it, this is very similar to the Gym Type C, other than these added thrusters on the back, the backpack, and then the armor. And that it makes sense, but it's enough to change the way you perceive the mobile suit pretty drastically. It has a very different feel from the Gym Type C, despite really just having a bit of added armor and some thrusters. And that's very cool. Gym Spartan without the combat knife. Definitely not. The Gym Spartan was based on the it has a completely different lineage, so this is based on the Gym Type C, which is based directly on the Gym Type E, which is the early type, whereas the Gym Spartan was based directly on the it was basically a not sniper version of the Gym Sniper 2. And the Gym Sniper 2 is based on the Gym Command, which is based on the Gym, which is based on the early type. So it's got a completely different lineage, and really the only similarities it has is close quarters combat and green. That's pretty much it. So it's about as same as the G-line, what was it, the light armor? Or no, the assault armor. About the same as the G-line assault armor then. So, but anyway, this is very cool. I have a close friend. Actually, he's the friend that has that, the custom colors, Zaku to R2P. For a while, he was pretty obsessed with the Gym Striker. And I can't blame him, it's very cool. I do actually have one, but I'm turning it into a Striker custom. So this is going to go... Do I want to put it in A? Probably yes. We'll do that for now. Okay, the Dom Tropen. So this is a very nice, like, successor to the Dom. It keeps a lot of what the Dom is intact. I'm not sure how I feel about these legs with the, like, thrusters on the sides, but the thrusters on the sides makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure how I feel about it visually, but as far as making sense, that's exactly what I would do. And then some things like the shoulders and the chest feel more heavily armored, even though they're not actually a very different shape. And then the head is also kind of bigger, which I like a decent amount. But I don't think the original has those, where did I put it? Yeah, the original doesn't have those, cables there, which I don't think is bad. I think it's bad or good, really, but this is, like, the perfect way that they could have upgraded the Dom. And this line art is honestly better than Kuina Rakawa's original Dom line art. And I will put it definitely above the original Dom. Probably right there. I don't see any Desert Zaku on the list. I actually probably should have put that one there. I forgot. Maybe I'll probably put it in the Zeta and Double Zeta tier list then, because it originally actually appeared in Double Zeta, even though it was used in the 1 Year War. Okay, the Zagak. So, I don't know why the arms are so short in this illustration, but they can extend a bit, so I guess it's fine. Overall, this is... Actually, I did upgrade the illustration by making the eye more pink like it's supposed to be, even though it's not actually pink, very pink in the line art for some reason. I guess it's Metal Sonic then, the way it doesn't... It's for some reason illustrated without red eyes. Well, that's the opposite, because Metal Sonic is illustrated with red eyes, but then doesn't have them in the game. Anyway, I gave it a pink mono eye, because it's supposed to have one, and it looks better with it. This design is held up very well. There's There's a reason that the seed one from recent times changes so little, other than the backpack, of course. But also, it lends itself very well to a model kit. The kit of this only has one sticker there, and of course the mono eye, and it has perfect color accuracy. So I would actually highly recommend that kit for anybody who has any interest in this at all. Although for some reason, funnily enough, the Char one is actually cheaper. That's the one I have. But yeah, it's got more of a streamlined aesthetic than the others, which I think is more because it is meant more for speed. And I'm going to put it. It looks like someone wearing an underwear wearing boots. It doesn't look like that to me, but if you say so. B tier. Now for the ugly piece of garbage. I despise this thing with a burning, seething passion. Why does it have these big shoulder pylons? What do they do? Why does it have an open cockpit open for the entire world to see? I don't like this big claw. It's intimidating and cool, I guess, but it doesn't make any sense for something from what? Like UC like 71 or something? I think it looks the lights here make it look like it has like kind of sad eyes. Then it's holding something in its mouth. Wasn't just a mobile worker. It was called mobile worker early type, but it was also given the designation of MSO1, so it is a mobile suit. It was called a mobile worker, but it's a mobile suit. And guess where it goes? I hate this thing. I am renowned for my hatred of this thing. And they got rid of my Crabman! Where's my... There we go. My angry toggle. They got rid of the Crabman! I love the Crabman, and they got rid of it. Look at my son. Look at my beloved son. He was forced to eat concrete when he was 3 years old, and his most valorous feat that he's ever done consists of falling over. I love him. And then in Origin, they replaced him with this thing. I hate this thing so much. They replaced my son Crabman with this. Looking like a Titan taking a leisurely walk. Well, walk was about all that the Crabman could do. Okay, now for something that doesn't absolutely suck. It has 4 shields, and one of them not pictured because it would be held by this, which is a bit much, yes, but it works with the way Thunderbolt is and Thunderbolt aesthetic. I don't think you've seen this shield design before in Gundam, which is interesting because the gym one has normal gym shields, whereas this one has this new interesting like shield. I like it. I actually like the shield design a lot. It looks kind of like the Siege shield design if it was in UC, the strike shield. But for the Thunderbolt sector, it makes sense for it to have those shields. And sub arms are always cool. But this cannon is very cool. That was like the main thing that stuck out to me was this cannon. And then this. I do actually like this missile pod. And then these like propellant tanks here are also very cool. And then it's got that very, very blocky aesthetic that Thunderbolt has, where even the Xeon MS are pretty blocky. It admittedly looks way better in motion in the actual OVA. And this is the OVA version of the design. The manga version has slightly different proportions and more detail, and the colors are a bit different, but mostly it's the same. I do actually really like this, and I like this, like, this shield gun thing a lot. And I'll put it in B tier. Right about there. Okay, the gym cannon. I actually like the gym cannon quite a bit. It's grown on me a lot recently because I started doing more research on it, and I actually have. I have a 1/144 scale Gym Cannon kit. Um, right now it's glued together with super glue, not plastic cement, because I'm going to be, after I make a video review of it, I'm going to be using or splicing parts of it with a high grade gym and making a more modernized Gym Cannon. But I really like this like open hole for the a more like high performance vent. It feels it. How do I put this? It gives the machine more of its own identity in a way that I really like. And then the cannon is obviously very cool. That's the main point of it. Is the cannon. I like these like little antennae that it have. The other one is, I guess, not really visible because it's like that. But the heavier legs make so much sense. I've actually been working on a different one, which is the, hang on. I don't remember. Unfortunately, the prototype has the exact same model number as the original, as the actual thing itself. But first of all, actually, I guess this is probably RGC- oh yeah, right there, RGC-80-01. The percentage for the pilot to get his hearing damage is higher than the gun cannon MP pilot. I think probably the cockpit does like takes care of that pretty well. So I haven't been working on this, but when they made this, the second cannon and the leg made it, or the legs made it very unbalanced. So for the RGC-80-2, they went with this design, which had gun cannon legs, so that it had better balance. And I love, this makes so much sense as a prototype for that. I absolutely love this design, which is why I've been making it. I need to get back to that, actually. Anyway, the cockpit got noise and vibration canceling tech. Well, I mean, it has to be sealed, so this thing can go in space. So the sealing is already going to do a decent amount. Anyway, I really like this quite a bit. And I'll put it in B tier, but pretty high. How high, though? Right there. Okay, now for another origin thing, which you know what that means is probably going to go low. So I actually do like this arm thing, but why only on one arm? Why? I don't really like the like Audi style events for gyms and Gundams very much. I hate those origin design, as do I. I think the face makes it look like it's sucking a pacifier. And you remember what we just talked about how the prototype Gym Cannon, the version 1, would fall over because of weight distribution, because it didn't have big legs. Well, it's got this cannon and it doesn't have big legs, so I guess that just goes out the window. Also, I'm not a big fan of how this flows for a gym. I guess it could be done better for something else, but I don't like it for a gym. And then also, yeah, just like in general, I'm not the biggest fan. Why is there a little camera right there in the, like, why? It goes right there. So this was recommended to me because of Origin, but I'm not doing the Origin version. Wait, no, not this one. That was the, actually no, it was the Aqua Gundam. Got hidden thrusters on the back of its leg. But still. Okay, so the Aqua Gym. So I really like these here, and then this here. I accidentally clicked on a bookmark. So I really like the face. It feels very diver-like, you know? And these also, they feel submarine-like. I think Okawara did a great job of making this feel like a submarine and a mobile suit had a baby. And it's done very wonderfully. So where am I gonna put this? Right there, I think. Okay, speaking of, I think it was called Waterproof Gundam was one of the names, as well as Aqua Gundam. Technically, it's an Aqua Gym that was modified to look like a Gundam and have higher performance. But this was recommended that I do because of Origin, but then I'm not doing the Origin version because I don't want to. So this V-fin has a unique appearance, and I think gives it a pretty unique identity, which, by the way, the Origin version lacks, because of course it does. My ears are starting to hurt because the headphones I was wearing, so I have some toilet paper here that I use instead of tissues because it is cheaper, and also for some gunpla applications I prefer it. I like to shove that into the ears, and then it acts as a bit of extra padding. Anyway, it also has that same like mouthpiece vibe, which I really like. And the backpack is also very cool, almost Tall Geese-like, but not quite really. And then this as well. It's a little bit busy, just a little bit, but I don't think it's too much of an issue. And overall, this does a good job having its own identity, and it knows what it wants to be, and it does a very good job of that. So I will put it, I think, just below Aqua Gym. Actually, I wonder if I change it to no crop, will that make it smaller? Maybe? Did that help? No, it made it worse. Okay. Okay. The Saikamuzaku. Okay, what do I have to say about this? I think the arms are maybe a little bit much, but I like how this, like, clearly a lot was inspired from this by the Zeong if we're talking in universe. Namely the chest and the arms. And then it's interesting what it does to the legs. And it's interesting that Zeong wasn't going to do anything like that, considering it ended up being remarkably like that. I think the design for the legs is a little bit extreme, and that's why I'm never going to try and scratch build the legs for this, because that would be hell. And I think the hands are kind of big, but overall it has an interesting silhouette, and it's a neat design. But I like the way that the Zeong is constantly referenced, but also if you didn't see the Zeong before this, it wouldn't feel weird, you know? It would still make sense. So it exists on its own without the Zeong, which is especially good because canonically it comes before the Zeong, but it works very well as a predecessor to the Zeong for the Zeong to have been canonically based on. I think it does a very good job of that. Even if it looks like an ambulance. So I will put it C tier, bottom of C tier. Okay, now we have the Gun Cannon 2, or Gym Cannon 2, not Gun Cannon 2. We already did Gun Cannon 2. We're doing the Gym Cannon 2 now. So, it makes sense that this being based on the Gym that's based on the Alex and the Gym Cannon, that it would have armor like the Alex, but also being integrated into the frame is interesting. It's interesting. I like how the entire vibe the head has is changed by this bar there. It completely changes the vibe of the head, but that and these antennae are the only differences. And that's done really well. And then also the armor gives it a shape more like the gun cannon. And then it also, the armor here, not only is it armor, but it also solves the balancing issue. I think this is a really good design. It's nice how you can easily see, like that is like the exact same shape of the piece on the Alex. And this is also very similar. So we'll put this below the normal one for sure. But right here. Okay, the Federation's technically first mobile suit to see combat, I think. The gym. Well, if you don't count the Zanny. Which I don't think we should. That's not actually really a Federation mobile suit. So the torso is almost the same as the Gundam. The head is, I think the head is really where the idea of having the cheaper mass production one have a visor, that was great. I don't know how they came up with it, but good on them for that. The arms are almost the same as the Gundam. The shoulders actually technically are, even though I usually prefer my gyms to have like somewhat smaller shoulders. But the legs are where you can really the legs and the head are where you can see that it's dumbed down a bit. It's made cheaper. But I think it works. It works well. And it gives it its own unique identity from the Gundam, which I think sometimes some mass production models of things in Gundam can sometimes kind of fail to do, where it's clearly just a stripped down version of that. One example that I could give is the Sem in Gundam 00 is clearly just a stripped down Seraphim, whereas this does a better job of having its own identity while also being a stripped down Gundam. So we're gonna give this an A and put it at the bottom of A. Actually, no, B. Top of B. Okay, the gym ground type. So it's interesting how I think a lot of the Gundam ground types things were actually taken directly from the gym ground type, namely things like a lot of parts of the legs and the arms. It probably has at least 30% gym parts. I do like the head shape. It feels actually kind of similar to the Origin gym, but it actually looks nice. It's like if the Origin gym actually looked nice, which is great. I'm curious why. Oh, actually no. Actually, come to think of it, no. It actually makes so much sense that the cockpit's at the top, because now you actually have a place to like stand or whatnot outside of your cockpit, which is the top of here. Whereas with the normal gym, you kind of have the front skirt armor, but not really. I think this is a very well-rounded design. A lot of also other things I would have to say about it, I've already said about the Gundam ground type, like praising the knees, for instance, or the location of the beam sabers. But I'll put it right there. Actually, I might like it more than the Gundam ground type. Well, no. I'll put it right below. For now. Okay, now for the Zagok E. Unfortunately, the high grade of this kind of sucks. I don't really like that. It's like, it looks pretty good, but the articulation is awful. You can't even do the box art pose because the arms articulation held it back so much. But it does have a very like aggressive appearance, while keeping a lot of the hallmarks of what makes the Zagok a good design. It having shoulders feels a bit odd for Zagok, but I don't think it hurts the design at all. I really like the way that the hand is done. It's much longer than the normal Zagok. In the similar, it's similar to the High Gog, but I do really like the Zagok E. It's a shame that, especially the legs actually. So it's a shame that the model kit isn't great. Also, the mono eye doesn't even move. I'll put it. Right there. Okay, the Gym Juggler, which is, looking at it clearly based on the Type C, it's interesting how it's got some armor. This looks like chop armor. Specifically, this looks like it's based on the Alex's piece, and the arms too. whereas the armor here and here looks more unique. Of course, the most interesting thing is the gems that it juggles, I guess. Or not gems, the balls it juggles, I guess. So it's interesting that the Federation would try and improvise bits in that way, probably after seeing the Elements bits, or maybe the Brabros wired things. But I see why this didn't work. It's very cool, and it's nice and interesting. I think it's kind of become like a classic idea of like a deep cut design, like a slightly deep cut of Gundam designs, but the design is quite cool. It's interesting how the thigh armor splits right there. I almost wonder why Bandai hasn't made a model kit of this, especially because they've already got the Ball Twins set, and they've got the Gym Type C. Huh. They should make a model kit of it. I'll put it... right there. Okay, so next, speaking of the Gym Type C, here it is, the Gym Type C. So it's interesting how this, I think the early type gym came before this, so this does look like a beefed up early type gym, which is nice. It has its own like visual identity from the gym, but it keeps a lot from it, like the way that this is like one piece here. And this sort of is to Katoki's Gundam design what the gym is to the original Gundam. But I think this can still easily exist in canon of Gundam quite well. And then I like these like bars on the shoulders. I don't like them for the Gundam very much. It doesn't feel as heroic with those to me. But for the gym, I really like it. And then this antenna is cool too. And also, I like this little thing on the end. Who came up with the idea for that? Was that Katoki? Whoever he did, it looks nice. I'm going to put it, I think, just barely below the normal gym. Okay, here we have a very polarizing design. The, what? I just had it in my mind. I know what this is. I just was thinking it, and then it just, like, it disappeared from my mind as soon as XAML. Okay. I really like the head design. It feels very intimidating. Well, you know, such as it were. The torso head thing design. It feels very intimidating, and it makes sense that a mobile suit doesn't really need a head. This giant cannon is interesting. I like these like crazy arms that it has with the 3 fingers. It's very interesting. The cloth covered joints are interesting, and I guess they're standard for this because it was kind of a ground mobile suit from the first place. It really almost feels like a ground use mobile armor almost. I can see why Bandai continually doesn't make a high grade of this, even though people keep wanting them to. I think it would be kind of hard to actually put it into plastic form, and it would also cost a lot too. I'm going to put it right at the top of D tier. Not really my kind of design, but it's pretty neat. Actually, no. We'll swap those two. Maybe I'll put that in C. Okay, the Atlas. Overeat, no, kind of, yeah. So, it's... As far as the Atlas, it has a very interesting design. The head is very interesting, and it has a very unique feel to it. It very much gives it its own identity. With these, like, side parts here. And then the head also generally feels rather tall. These vents are very interesting. I like how it's said to use the, like, the same joint style as aquatic mobile suits. And if you look at, say, the Igog, You're like, okay, well, I don't really see that. But then, the thing you're not thinking about. Ah, come on. If you look at, like, the Thunderbolt GOG, right? Or even more so, the Thunderbolt's Act Guy. Now you can start to see, like, okay, yeah, this actually does have the same joint style as that. So it's important to keep what I did on the to GOG. I don't hate it. It's interesting. I almost wish I included this in this tier list, but no, the tier list is long enough already. But yeah, so you can see this does actually have the same, like, joint style as this. And it's interesting that it's an aquatic Gundam. Other than the waterproof Gundam, we haven't really seen that before. Anyway, I like this cockpit here. And then the gold, which is just yellow in this pic, and really in the anime it's just yellow, but in the manga it's actually gold. I like that version of that guy. I'm not the biggest fan, but I do actually like the Atlas quite a bit. These thrusters on the legs are pretty interesting too. These are interesting. I'm not the biggest fan, but I definitely don't dislike them. I'll put it at the top of B tier. Okay, the Gym Sniper Custom. So I really like the head. It almost feels kind of like a ninja mask, sort of. The green color makes it feel utilitarian and militaristic. I like these vents here on the knees. And then again, I really like leg-mounted weapons in Gundam, but we see them so rarely. It's kind of sad, but it makes, when we do see them, like right here with this pistol, quite special. And it really works for a sniper version of the Gym. And this is actually based on the original Gym, not like the Type C or anything, which is interesting because we see that kind of rarely. So where am I going to put this? Definitely in B tier, which is getting pretty crowded now. Remember for the white, it like very covert military apps. I mean, I think it still does. I'll put it right there. Okay, now for the Zanny. This is the best image I could find of the Zanny, by the way. Other than the Thunderbolt version, which is pretty different. It feels more like its own unique mobile suit. Whereas this, you can see it's... So the arm is interesting. It's got that, like, weird three-armed, like... But it's, like, it's a very weird thing, you know? It's very weird. The torso is just Zaku, and the legs are mostly Zaku. But then this is, like, it's got some Federation going on there. And then a handheld ball rifle? Like, the ball cannon, but, like, as a handheld rifle. I think that's super interesting. And I wonder if that was the inspiration for the WAF's bazooka. We'll get to the WAF when we get there. But the arms also feel kind of Federation-like, and then that feels like the Jim Early type head, which I think the Jim Early type head's probably based on. The three arms used to play UFO catcher. Okay. So this is going to go in C tier, but it has a special place in my heart as being pretty interesting. I think actually right there. Okay, ready to pad out D tier a bit more? Gym Command Light Armor. I despise this thing. It looks like the torso tasted a lemon. Why is the top of the arm so short? Why is that so small? Why? This doesn't make any sense with the shoulder assembly. This beam rifle or this beam saber, like, why not just the normal one? And why only one now, I guess? This makes it feel like it's wearing a way too short skirt, which makes this feel like a rather uncomfortable appendage. And then in general, it's like this feels like weird and lanky, and I don't like it, and the colors aren't helping. I'm gonna put it below something from Origin. Do you realize how much that means I dislike that? Okay, another one that was suggested, the Gym Guard Custom. So a lot of this is the same as the Sniper Custom, especially in the Origin version, why I'm not doing that. The two rifles are interesting. Obviously the shield is the main thing, but that's not in this image. I like these knees. They're pretty interesting. Oh, nice. I didn't notice that before. The head has a somewhat unique feel. With that Type C like chin. And then this is really what's interesting. But also another thing that's very interesting is these Vulcans, the like arm Vulcans, the chest Vulcans. Those are, I like those a lot. They feel kind of Wing Gundam like, but in a more grounded way. And I will say the Origin version, it feels dumbed down and boring a lot, which is what Origin does to MSVs. It takes away just a little bit of what makes it special. It goes up to you like, hey, would you like it if I made your unique and interesting mobile suit a bit more boring? It's like, you're like, no, why would I want? It's like, here, take it. And now that's the only one we're gonna make the high grade of. Anyway, that'll go right there. And another one that was requested, the Gym Dominance. So what's interesting is that this is not based on the Sniper, although it has some Sniper 2 parts here, obviously. It's not based on the Sniper 2, though. It's based on the original, which you can kind of see in the torso and the legs. The feet is very small here, which is, I think, just the line art. I'm pretty sure it's just the line art. I like the arms here a lot. And overall, I like the slim like vibe it has. These leg parts are quite interesting. The blue color scheme is quite nice with this one pop of red. I like these vents here. These ones here are pretty cool too, but I like these ones here a lot. And then also this like part that goes up that the Gym Sniper doesn't have is very cool, and the backpack I like a lot too. And this one will go in A tier. Right here. Speaking of, the Gym Sniper 2, which feels like a more balanced design, honestly. I really like these knee parts, and especially the back of the legs. That's very cool. These parts of the backs of the arms the shoulders are like, what's it called? Elbow. The elbow guard here is interesting. The vents being changed from here to here is, I'm not sure how I feel about it with these like little tiny vents, but I don't dislike it for sure. I might like it a decent amount. I'm not sure. I do like this head. You can see its lineage from the Gym Command. Same with on the shoulders. Wait, did I? Are you kidding me? Did I forget? Oh. I forgot the Gym Cult District's type. I should be hanged. Anyway, you can see that lineage still on the shoulders. I like this one a lot. I'm not usually that into Sniper mobile suits, but this one definitely goes into, I think, S actually, bottom of S tier. Oh, I lied. There it is. This is my favorite one-year war gym, for sure, like easily. I like the 4 vents. It's very nice. The head is my favorite part. I love the head. I like that in Gundam Target and Sight you can give it a prototype Gundam-like color scheme. I think it suits it very well, but of course we're just going for the original color scheme here, which is quite nice. It makes sense for if it's supposed to blend into the snow in like cold places. I like this one and this like antenna there. Very cool. And the like bit of color here on the face is very nice. Love that. And that's going to go right there. Okay, the gun tank. So we've already covered some of the gun tank stuff with the mass production type. Where is it? Can I make this longer? Is that gonna work? Not really. can probably do it if I have to. Okay, so the gun tank. The arms don't look quite as nice as the mass production one. And then the torso is mainly where the hang up is. It feels a little bit more toyish, and then the colors make it feel more toyish for sure. The shorter cannons, while still quite long, they're not as long, and they don't feel as much like tank cannons because of that. I don't think it's a problem. I just think it's not quite as good as the mass production one, which, I mean, canonically, it's objectively not as good as the mass production one in general. But overall, it feels surprisingly grounded for what it is, although seeing it in space, it looks a little bit ridiculous. We'll put it in the top of C. Okay, the Gym Command. We see this one takes a lot from the Gym Type C. I do like the backpack quite a bit. I think the way the head is done, actually, I think the head looks a bit better. Whoops. How did I do that? How did I get it, like, out of, like, focus there? There we go. Hang on. There we go. Why am I a perfectionist so much? Yeah, I think the head, actually, the way it's, like, smooth there, I actually like more. But yeah, you can see there's a lot of similarities. But overall, I do slightly prefer the Cold Districts type. Over the Command, even though they are quite similar. Although I do like the shield of the Command a lot more. So I'll put this just below it. Actually, I might like. Maybe I changed my mind. I think I have changed my mind. I like it a little bit more. No, wait, no, I don't. I don't know. I'll put it above right for now. Okay, the Gundam local type. So this is one that was suggested to me by somebody who specifically requested. I'm pretty sure it was Typhoon. So I like the visor with the Gundam eyes behind it. That's pretty cool, and the handles are interesting. The cannon, I think we can say because it's a Gundam, it can probably balance itself better than a Gym, so I can forgive the cannon. I'm not sure how I like this, like, 3-tiered waist going on here. And also, why does it have 3 beam sabers? I think 3 is a bit overkill now. I do like these feet, though. The feet are pretty cool. And the, like, dust coverings are nice. So I will put it, even though it's Origin, I will put it in B tier. Low B, but B tier. Okay, another easy Buchi design, the mass production gun cannon. I think I actually like this more than the normal gun cannon, which, come to think of it, we still haven't done that, have we? Yeah, we have not. I like the hole style vents in the shoulder. They're very cool. We see that same, like, chin strap thing that we see in the Gym Cannon too. And it again, it has the same sort of, like, effect, and it looks very nice. And I like the antennae too. This, like, thing protruding out of the, like, waist armor, I have no idea what it's supposed to be, but I know that it looks mechanical and cool. And overall, it's like, it does a very good job of feeling like a gun cannon, but being a bit different. I actually really like the way that the, like, cannons can, like, retract into the backpack. That's very cool. And I'm gonna put it right there. In A tier. Okay, the Gundam Go5. Although this represents both the Gundam Go4 and the Go5 because other than weapon choice, they are exactly the same. This is specifically the booster type. So I do like the face. It feels... I don't know if this is Kotoki, but it feels like it is. Let's find out. The original design, I think, was the MMSV one was from... that was definitely from... Well, I'll show it on the stream, but that was definitely Okawara. Like that, like nobody's gonna look at that and think it wasn't Okawara. But this one feels Kotoki-like. Yeah, it is. I do like it a lot. The arm things are cool, although I think all of these colors and shapes all right together are a bit much. Same with up here, but not as much of an issue. The head feels very Kotoki-like in a good way. I really like these vents and the way the vents work. What's interesting is that this is all the Gundams, all the RX-78 units are all based on modified RX-78 ones, except for the RX-78 3, which is based on the RX-78 2 directly. But this is modified directly from an RX-78 1 for the purpose of testing equipment for future gyms, which makes it a very interesting unit. But I do like this quite a bit, and I think I'm going to put it higher than the RX-78 2, perhaps. Yeah, right there sounds good. Okay, now for one that is technically not a Shoji Kawamori design, although it's definitely based on one. So, the GPO4, this is my favorite GP unit, so I think, anyway. I really like the shoulders here, though the shoulders are done. And the legs, too. The legs are my favorite part. I love these legs. Canonically, this one was cancelled for being too similar to just a space use GPO1, where the GPO1 could just be outfitted for space use anyway. Which eventually it was. I think not in the original way, because they also had to, like, fix it and stuff, but... So they got an upgrade. But the legs are, if you look... compare it to the Jibera Tetra, the legs are not that changed. And I don't like it as much as Jibera Tetra's legs. But it's still very cool. And then the arms are also still pretty similar in terms of overall structure. These are different, but they still similar. The chest is the main difference. The chest is very different, and I will put this. Actually, no, I like it. I like the GPO one better. Oh dear, now we're overflowing. Can you... Ah! I wish when I extended it, I wish that would help. Okay, that works. Okay, that works. Well, we're actually almost done, finally. Okay, the Requiem for Vengeance Gundam. Okay, I do actually have a decent amount to say about this one. So, first of all, it's crazy this was developed designed by the same person as the EZ8. Do I have an EZ8 in here? I do. So it's crazy it's developed by designed by the same person as the EZ8 because, boy, is it different. I think that was probably a mixture of them like pushing him to take more advantage of what 3D can do, not caring about what 3D should do, and also thinking about, okay, what do American Gundam fans want to see? So this shield design is absolutely horrid. Terrible. I hate this so much. Why are there these stupid bars? Why not just have actual shield here? Why? Why? Just why? The rifle is interesting. It looks like a cross between the Gundam ground types beam rifle and the gun cannons beam rifle, but different. Like, well, mostly more like greebling added on. And if you take away some of that greebling, it becomes quite interesting, I think. Um, I actually really like the Gatling gun here. The head has some interesting things going on. I think with a bit of work and a bit of like simplifying, it could actually be really cool looking. Mostly there's just way too much going on here, and it's like, whoa, calm down, get out of my face, you know. um, and then you guys can't see it unless I like. No, you still can't see it. What I'll do is temporarily. No, stop that. There we go. The design might not be the best, but the designation was on the presentation was on point. It truly is the White Devil moniker. I absolutely agree, but I don't like this weird this weird toe it has. Why? Why has it got his toe sticking out? Or was it somewhere around there? I think. Let me check. Okay, it doesn't matter. The dreads seeing it crest the horizon, it made me forgive the design. I can forgive it while I'm watching, but when I'm just looking at it, it's like, ugh. Ankle armor. The ankle armor I actually do like. That's pretty cool. And then the way that this bottom part of the leg flows, that's pretty cool. But then, what's this bullshit on the knee? Why? I hate it. And then again, just like sand that off. Just fill in the gaps, sand it off. So much better. And then also, why does it have 3 beam sabers? Why? Why? You can't use more than 2. Why 3? So, and then also the like, these weird things seem to be trying to imitate the like, the bar things on the Gundam ground type and the EZ8, but poorly, if you ask me. So we're going to put that in D tier, but we'll put it in high D tier. Okay, and the... Wait, can I actually... Hang on. How much can I... That should work. That should make it a little better. And now you can see slightly more of it. If I zoom in, you can see the bottom of the feet. So... Where do I start with this? I like the way that the joints are done. And the overall, it feels very heavy. The gun is pretty cool. You can actually see, yeah. Yeah, this gun is actually quite similar. That's actually very similar. That's more similar than I thought it was, even. That's basically just this, but weird. Wow, I lost most of my Twitch streamers, or most of my Twitch viewers right when I criticized the Requiem for Vengeance Gundam. The backpack is interesting. It makes a strong impression. I think the head fits with what the design is quite well. It feels more squat and like low mobility than the Gundam just by appearance, which I like a lot. I'm not sure what else I have to say about it. I do like this little thruster here. That's a neat detail. And it's going to go... It's not really my kind of design. Okay, the Zaku 2 FZ. Did I do this one already? I thought I did. No, I was going to, and then I decided to mix up things. I remember now. So like the Zaku 2 F2, amazing, like, knee design. That's perfect. I really like this, like, arm design with the spikes here. It sort of reminds me of the Slayer, actually, from Doom 2016 and Eternal. This actually does seem to take a decent amount from the F2. I wonder who it was designed by. I can't tell. I could easily see it being Kotoki, but I don't think it is. It's an Izubuchi design. So I guess Izubuchi just mostly based it on his Zaku design, because this was originally just a redesign. I guess he mostly... Oh, actually, I should have noticed. Those vents mean it's Izubuchi. But I guess he just mostly based it on the F2, Kotoki's F2. I'm not sure. I don't really like that vent design, but most other interpretations of this design don't have that. I like the way the head is shaped, though. That's very cool. What else I have to say about it? I like the way the design flows a lot. And it feels scarier. Like, you could make this feel scary more easily. And it goes higher than most Zaku's. I think I'll put it right at the bottom of A. Okay, the RX-78-6, the Mudrock. I like these arm shield things. They're very cool. The, like, thrusters here are very nice. Similar to Alex, I like that a lot. The beam saber storage with that is very cool, but the main draw, I think, is the head. The head is so cool, with those red eyes and the ventless face with no mouth. It's so cool. And then the color scheme is interesting too. It helps to give the mobile suit more of its own identity instead of just being another UC Gundam. I don't really like this piece here, if I'll be honest. But I think it's fine. But if I don't really like it, I actually really want to high grade this, and I'm thinking about it. But where will I put it? Bottom of S. No, I'll put it above the Gym Sniper too. Which I might actually put an A. No, I'll put an S. No, A. I don't know. Actually, I'll put that as high as here. Okay, the GP00 Blossom. I don't think this was made by... who designed this? I don't think it was... Shoji Kawamori. Let me see if I can find out. The Gundam Wiki doesn't say. I will say I do really, really like the core booster too. That's very, very cool. I can't find out who designed this. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't think it was Shoji Kawamori. I'm almost certain it was not. It's imitating his style a bit, but I don't think it was him. Anyway, I really like this big radome here. Well, you guys can't see it. There we go. The big radome here. And then this big cannon is also very cool, of course. That's like the main point of... That's the charm point, so to speak. These like three like sensors are very cool, and then the way that the sensors light matches this here, also very nice. The head feels Shoji Kawamori like, but I'm pretty sure it's just imitating his style. I really like the beam saber storage right here. They should make a high grade of this, honestly, especially so I can better understand the shape of the Core Booster 2 and the way it interacts with the design. But also the way the back of the Core Booster 2 is the back skirt armor, it's very nice. And I will put that in S tier. Right about there. Yeah, that should be an A tier. Okay, now, the Pixie. So this did not have a core block system. You're almost there, yes. We've got just that many left. Hydrate. Okay. So it's interesting that it's so. First of all, the head, these vents on the side, and the wider mouth piece give it a very unique appearance, which helps give it its own identity. And I'll talk about that a lot about a mobile suit having its own like identity, because to me, like the RX-78-3, like yes, it's different from the RX-78-2 and even the RX-78-1. They're different, but they don't feel like they have their own unique identity other than just being like versions of the RX-78-2 basically. Even though in canon the RX-78-1 was the originator, like obviously out of universe, they're based on the RX-78-2, and they don't really have their own unique identity. Whereas a lot of them like this has its own unique identity where it feels different. The beam daggers, which are really more beam short swords, they're very cool. I like those a lot. Again, a more unique one, and I like how like light and lithe this looks. But it's nice that these like ankle armors like remind you, hey, this is based on the RX-78-1, you know? But overall, the design flows really well. This is objectively a very good design, and I'm going to put it in A tier. Right there. Okay, the Pale Rider. I actually really love this one. So my favorite part about it is probably this back thruster thing. The side thruster is very cool, especially in conjunction with the back thruster. Those are very, very cool. But the back thruster is the coolest one. I love the shape of it. The beam saber storage is very unique right there, but it would be very easy to grab it. As probably you grab them with opposite hands. Otherwise, because if you grabbed it with that, it's going to be in reverse grip, which sucks. The arms are also, or the shoulders are pretty unique as well. And I like these beam guns there, which they look very Gelgoog-like in appearance, which is interesting. But you can tell this is based on the Gym Sniper too. You can see a lot of the lineage in there. And the head is also very cool, especially with this like one antenna facing backwards. And it doesn't feel, it feels sort of like a Gym head, sort of like a Gundam head, but not really like either, which helps give it its own unique identity, especially when compared to the similar Blue Destiny 1, which has a very Gym-like head, or the Unit 2 and 3, which have very Gundam-like heads. And because this has the Hades system, which is similar to a souped-up exam, you're gonna compare them. Not to mention it's blue. And then it's got some Gundam and some Gym-like things about it. So you're going to compare it to the Blue Destiny units, and I don't think it's as good, honestly, if I'll be honest. I don't like this as much. But it does a good job being its own thing and not just being a rehash of that. And I would rather pilot this than that, honestly, in terms of performance. But I will put it right there. Lots of S tier ones, probably because it's so big in general. Okay, the WAF. We gotta talk about this thing. So I actually really want the high grade of this, but I want it for parts. Except I'm probably not even gonna do that anymore. I'm just not gonna do that anymore. So I will say it's nice that they have a consistent aesthetic with the mono eye faces without the snout. But why does it have those little Vulcans? Those are tiny. Those aren't going to do anything. I mean, I guess they weren't facing as mobile suits anyway, but still, I don't even think those would really damage a fighter. I don't know why these legs, the armor is so wide. It almost feels like a Dom, sort of, but not really. And then it feels kind of over-designed in terms of details. And it definitely feels over-designed in terms of details. I don't get why there's the whole, like, arms swapping out thing. It's like, that was clearly just, like, pretty skirt. I'll give it that, yeah, but it doesn't, even that doesn't really make sense for where it is in the development timeline. So I'm not a fan of this one. At least the color scheme makes it pretty unique. I do like this one more than the Bagoo, at the very least. We'll put it right there. Which makes D too wide now. Now you gotta make it smaller again. Okay, the Easy 8. So this one I actually do like quite a bit. So the head has a very unique feel with no V-fin and these antennae, especially with the red eyes and the interesting chin. Yeah, very unique feel. Gives it its very much its own identity, apart from just the Gundam ground type. The chest is also interesting with this like machine gun there. And then the legs flow very nicely. Even more nicely than the ground type that it's based on. Like these, yeah, it's okay, but these flow really well. I really like that a lot. And then a lot of it's just exactly the same. Like the chest, the waist is basically the same. The arms are, I think, exactly the same. But to me, it's definitely a visual upgrade compared to that. Especially with the, it's like I said, it's very much its own. It's got its own unique feel. Now I'm gonna make it smaller again. You guys can hardly see these now. Okay, now the exam Ifrit, which is also sort of going for all Ifrits. So the head is pretty long, but I don't think that's bad. I like these like armor pieces here. The blue and red color scheme are, it's, the blue and red color scheme is very striking. The red stands out a lot across all the rest of the blue. I like these pieces of armor here a lot, and then the missiles are very cool. And overall, it flows pretty well while having a pretty good Xeon aesthetic. And then all the spikes up here, especially with the two swords it has, it feels very cool. And especially with how high performance it is compared to, especially if when you're playing in the game, you just got a gym trying to fight against this, like, that's gonna be terrifying, and it's very good at that. And I think that's a lot of what it's supposed to do. So I'll put it right there. No, right there. And the last one, the Gan. So the feet, it's got a very knight-like appearance. It's very obvious it's supposed to look like a medieval knight. I think the shield it's not my style, personally. It's very focused on melee combat, which is pretty cool. And I like, it does a good job of doing the knight aesthetic. That said, I'm generally not too fond of the design. There's a reason I don't have a high grade of it. The skirt is neat. The way the legs flare out gives it an interesting appearance, but I can't say I like that a lot. And this like circle here doesn't help it for me. I really don't like the way the skirt parts here for this weird cod piece. I'm not generally a big fan, and I'm gonna put it like right there. You know, I'm gonna put it in D tier just so that it doesn't. No. There we go. Okay, is there anything else I want to change? And let me change this to no crop. That way, why did that actually help it a lot? Oh, okay. Okay, that works. I should have had a no crop this whole time then. Okay, is there any adjustments I want to make to this before I end off the stream? think this is gonna go under the Dom Tropen. And I'll swap these two around again. I don't know, I kind of want the Zaku... Actually, I think I do like these more than some of these. Maybe more like there and... there. I think other than that, that's probably pretty good. Yep, I think I'll say that this is good. This is what we're gonna go with, and yeah. So this is our final tier list. I will be posting it on various places, and thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all for being here. I will be ending off the stream now with this tier list. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.